Okay, I think we're live. Can everybody hear me? Testing, testing. 1, 2, 3. All right, awesome. Ugh. Aussie was supposed to help me with the stream today. So if he shows up in the chat, let me know. He'll be under the handle superchallengebros. Welcome, welcome. Michael Grodel, good to have you back as always. Luke Danger, always a pleasure to see you there. Yeah. Oh, is Rescue Mutant Prisoners after Hammerfest? Well, if I get to that. That used to be one that I would skip every time as a kid because I just didn't know how to beat it. It wasn't until I was an adult that I figured out I was going the wrong direction. I was going straight into the artillery death zone instead of going up and around. Recon 1, welcome to the stream. Glad to have you here. Let's go ahead and get started. Early bird gets the worm. You'll get to see how I start Hammerfest. As you can probably see, I've been doing a lot of skirmishes recently. So we're going to go here and load up. Alright. We're going to go ahead and restart the mission just so we can see everything from the start and also give time for other people to join the stream before we get started. Recon 1 says, I got my user handle from CNC Renegade's intro. I don't remember where Recon 1 is mentioned in the intro. I didn't actually grow up playing Renegade. I got that as an adult for the first time.
Establishing battlefield control. Stand by.
All right. Welcome to Hammerfest, boys. Whoa, this was shown in a cinematic. Yeah, you're right. I believe when we beat this game, we'll see that cinematic. I'm pretty sure, anyway. What's that red light over there? Ah! Oh gosh, wow, I've never seen that happen before. Luke Danger says, funnily enough, in this mission, playing the Win cutscene probably would have been a good opener since that's how it starts. No, for sure. Alright, if I remember correctly, these crates have healing in them, so we want to leave those alone until our hover MLRSs take some damage. Also, this is the first time I'm playing this campaign on normal. I used to play this millions of times as a kid, but I always played it on easy, so if there's new units or areas that I'm surprised by, it's probably because that wasn't in the original, or it's been such a long time since I've played. Okay. How's everybody doing? You guys having a good Saturday so far? Good week? I know I have. Can't complain. Ah, shoot. There we go. Nice. Gosh, the music in this game never gets old. Well, here we go. No, 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 no. Okay. Let's head back and get the healing crate. Luke Danger says, well enough. Bit warm, but also the afternoon here. Yeah, MLRS is having issues hitting up cliffs. Never fun. No, not at all. There we go. Whew. Yeah, I've been working hard on the Nod video, part 2, which covers all of Nod's history, at least what we can gather and speculate on, from its inception until the 1990s, as well as trying to nail down their religious beliefs and their political beliefs in this era of around the First Tiberian War. Been really fascinating. I think I've cracked a few things about Cain that probably should have been obvious, but I'm really excited to share it with you guys. Nostalgic, welcome to the stream. Hey everybody. Or Nostalgic, I guess. Recon1 says, I regret my concert choices for yesterday and today. What good is pop punk if you don't know the lyrics nor anyone in the venue? Wish I went to CT or to see another one down in Cinema Stare yesterday. Yeah, I've done that before. I've had friends who are like, oh, you should come join us at the concert, and I don't know any of the bands. And then the next thing you know, your car gets towed because you weren't supposed to park in front of that Verizon store. It's a whole thing. Luke Danger says, if I remember correctly, the Hover MLRS outranges most units outside of rocket types like attack bikes, so you can probably bait them towards the river to get some distance. Recon1 says, stoked for the Nod video. Absolutely. I'm super excited to show you that guy's one. After I'm done with that, I'm probably going to take a... okay. Was that laser always there? I feel like that wasn't there on easy difficulty. Can I outrange that? Guys, let me know in the chat if I can outrange that with my MLRS. But yeah, I think after the Nod video, I'm probably going to take a little break and maybe just make more video essays on some of the indie games I like. And the last poll I did seems like a lot of you guys were actually interested in seeing a video on Titanfall 2, which will make Aussie very happy. Just because this video on Nod has been such a huge project, and I'll probably take a little break from CNC when I'm done with that, but I'll be back. Trust me. Luke Danger says, glad you're having fun poking into Nod. That was fun to do when I was messing with my Arcane CNC crossover fanfic. Can't wait to see what you came up with. That's cool. I never really got into fanfic, especially crossover fanfic. I always thought that would be hard to do, but I'm also a stickler for lore and continuity, so I think inherently that would be hard for me to vibe with. Luke Danger says, you can't outrange the razor. You can't outrange the laser. Alright, let me save and then we'll give it a shot. Normally I'm not a fan of the idea of games allowing you to outrange base defenses, but in this case, I think Tiberian Sun does it well. Yes, sir. Oh my gosh, I can. Sometimes, even though you can outrange them, they'll get closer for no reason. Michael Groto says, Nod is absolutely one of my favorite factions in any game. Has that 90s villain feel that I love. Absolutely. Especially their Tiberian Sun era. I feel it's like peak 90s sci-fi Nod. Jez, welcome to the chat. Says, probably can't outrange. Titans can too, for sure. Or Gluesman, welcome back to the chat. I just returned from Superman 2025 in Cinema City, Richon, Louisiana with a friend, and we also ate some KFC. Nice. I'm going to see Superman later today, so please no spoilers in the chat. Superman is actually my favorite comic book character. So I'm really hoping this is good, but no spoilers, because I'm still cautiously optimistic about it. Michael Groto says, yeah, it's annoying when the artillery gets closer to the target, especially with those V2 rockets in that one mission where they fire nukes. I'm not sure what you're talking about. There we go. Recon1 says, I highly recommend Elio. It's awesome. Yeah, that one just kind of came and went. Some really weird marketing on that one. Oh, I can go up here? I know I can go back around this one. I think this is the way you're supposed to go, so I'm trying to remember what this is. Orglusman says, yes, the Superman movie is good. Oh, I really hope so, Orglusman. Like I said, favorite comic book superhero. I've read Superman's one of those characters that, like, I got really introduced to with... Oh, here we go. Oh, I remember this. With Man of Steel, which I still enjoy. But, it really wasn't until I read these comics that I became a real fan of Superman. Like, Superman's interesting, because most other comic book superheroes that I like Spider-Man or Captain America, I found my love for them in the movies, whereas with Superman, I primarily fell in love with the character through the comics themselves, especially Peter J. Tomasi and Patrick Gleason's run of Superman Rebirth in the 2010s. That is fantastic run. Okay, Nostalgic. Man, seeing you playing this, I'm kind of jealous. I wish I could also play it, but it's really hard to download it, especially in Windows 10. They just released it for... Whoop, nope. They just released it again for Steam. That's what I'm playing on, is the Steam version. And it's working pretty well. I have Windows 10, and this is playing on Windows 10 right now, so might be worth a shot. Let's see how many of these guys we can take out. Or Glusman says, favorite restaurant is KGB. When you're rushing for food, there's no time for Stalin. At first I thought that was a typo, but I don't think it is. Save here. Trevin Lane, welcome to the chat. Says, this access to Nod's power, powering down an obelisk at the main room. Oh, that's right. That's what this does. Okay. Because I have memories of both with the obelisk being on and basically having to do Charybdis and Scylla to have to, like, rush past it. And now, and just take some losses, to also having memories of it not firing. And now I remember why, because in some playthroughs I did this. Xavier CJ says, it's from this mission which I noticed that I absolutely love the range of the Hover MLRS. Been using them to soften up enemy waves for main forces at safe distances, which protects them. Also, I love GDI. Me too. I don't know how to pronounce that. Ogie's Video Pit. You ever try out the Dawn of War or Total Annihilation supply from Commanders? I played a little bit of Total Annihilation for the RTS video essay I did about how RTS needs its own Bioshock. It was very hard for me to understand it. I think a lot of those RTS games don't do a very good job of teaching you how to play the game. So I probably have to look up videos for Total Annihilation to figure out how to, like, actually play it well. I've never played Supreme Commander. I've heard good stuff about that. I really should. Orglism says, I see that I'm the second place top fans. Yeah, I don't know how that's decided, whether that's just like you showing up at the streams, commenting a bunch or not. I don't select that manually. YouTube does that for me. So, but I don't know if you guys have ever seen that video. It's called like Video Game War Stories, and it's like a former developer of Westwood explaining how they made Tiberian Sun and some of the technical challenges they had. And one of the things they mentioned that's always stuck with me is that, like, they try in all of the campaign missions to introduce new units in, like, really memorable ways, so that, you know, you actually care about that unit, because it's like, oh, there was the mission where you got to destroy the SAM sites with the Wolverine, so you care about the Wolverine, or here's the mission where you infiltrated Hammerfest base with the MLRS, so you care about that unit. And I 100% agree with that. I really wish newer RTS games would do that, because I miss feeling emotional about pixels on a screen that have no character to them. That is, to me, video game wizardry. Ogie's Video Pit. Thank you for pronouncing my name correct. No one ever does that. Oh, it is Ogie's. Or is it Augie's? Sorry. I forgot what I said the first time, so even if I got it right the first time, I don't even remember anymore. I think it's Ogie's. Luke Danger. I think number X is comment base. I started as number 2, then moved to number 1 after some comments. Yeah. You were one of the first people to comment on my videos, Luke Danger. You did that amazing sort of like TED Talk on my Tiberian Sun video that I still go back to every now and again and just read again because I just love reading good written works. Okay, so you should be powered down. Can I destroy you now? I'm curious. Gosh, this is such a cool concept. Just the idea of sneaking into a base with hover units and amphibious units through an ice patchwork of rivers guarded by Nod forces. That's just such a cool idea, and I feel like none of the future games did anything as cool as what Tiberian Sun does with this mission's design. Ogie's Video Pit says the 2D sprites rotating like 3D is honestly still incredible 25 years later. Yeah, I know a lot of people say like, oh, Red Alert 2's graphics have aged a lot better and Tiberian Sun feels really aged, and maybe it is objectively, but I think that the art style for this game has aged really well. It's so charming and I love it. And it contributes to the atmosphere of this game. Nastalogic says, oh, that's really interesting. Trevin Lane says, it is the best way to introduce new units. Luke Danger says, also, it's a good way to get you to understand the unit. Newer games tend to just introduce them without fanfare, leaving you really not really understanding its intended use for the unit. Exactly. It's just good game design, you know? These old games deserve respect because the people that made them were extremely talented. Hi Command, welcome to the chat. Please do videos about Tiberian Sun mods. I still have so much I want to talk about with the games proper. Eventually, I probably will get around to doing videos on the mods. I got to play more of the mods. I'm currently trying to play through Twisted Insurrection, which I've really been enjoying. So, maybe I'll do a video essay on that someday. Trevin Lane, don't. They deploy artillery. Don't what? Don't destroy the obelisk of light? What are you talking about, Trevin Lane? Luke Danger says, definitely powered down. There's no light bouncing back and forth above the base. Oh yeah, I love the little visual flares to let you know whether it's powered on.
Waiting orders. Moving out. Yes, sir.
Trevin Lane says the obelisk.
Orders received. Yes, sir.
So, are you telling me I shouldn't destroy the obelisk? Should I load back?
Yes, sir.
I'm going to wait for what the chat says. If I should go back and not destroy the obelisk, if that'll make it easier going forward.
Orders received.
Hi Command, please use D-Draw upscaling with the sidebar tabs like the ones in RA2. Oh, is this a little pixelated? Sure, I guess. I try not to change anything from how I played it when I was a kid. Like, I could play this at a higher, like, resolution, but that kind of zooms it out, and I like playing it the way I did as a kid. Xavier CJ says, is Twisted Insurrection the mod that takes place where Nod wins the first Tiberian War? I believe so, yes. I believe that's the story. Augie's Video Pit. Also, I love how they kept the idea of the sandworms in Dune 2 being hostile flora and fauna, and very obviously were inspired by them for the floaters, hounds, and I mean vein holes. Yeah, no, I love how much of the Tiberian universe is clearly, like, inspired by Dune, with, like, Tiberium taking the place of the spice, but, like, it has its own spin on it, and it feels like its own thing. I feel like a lot of times when people want to be inspired by something, it just ends up being a carbon copy, when really you just need to take inspiration and put a twist on it. And I love the hostile flora and fauna. I wish more games would do that. The idea that there's both factions fighting each other, and then the environment itself is fighting against you, I think is such an inherently cool idea that really, really needs to be... Like, there's so many things in this game. Underground units, stealth units, attacking flora and fauna, amphibious stuff, that just was never brought forth even in future Command and Conquer games. Like, Tiberian Sun, I feel like, is the key to revitalizing this genre because it has so many cool, like, game mechanics that were just never developed. And I don't know why. Other than the fact that, like, 3D game engines kind of precluded the possibility of doing this kind of stuff again. Michael Grohl says, the more I listen through Tiberian Sun, the more I appreciate its soundtrack. Not my favorite personally, but it absolutely fits this game's atmosphere perfectly. Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. Luke Danger says, glad you like the comments I made. It's fun to bounce things off that aren't talked about as much with something like CNC, especially since CNC's lore is honestly a lot more in-depth than it seems at first. Absolutely, and having gone through the history of Nod, I tend to agree. Nastalogic says, hearing that soundtrack in the background is my favorite one. High Command says it's low res, just with upscaling. Oh, okay. Maybe I'll fool around with that. Trevin Lane, I know the artillery deploys if you capture the radar, and they start rushing you with artillery if you destroy the obelisk. Augie's video pit. Hey, Luke Danger, you were the guy who made the long comment in the Tip Sun video, right? It was pretty intriguing. Nastalogic, I think that's Mutant Soundtrack, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so before I read Luke Danger's comments, I'm just going to go for it, and we're going to see if Trevin's right. Not that I have any reason to distrust him, but let's pay for the consequences of our actions, and we can always load back if that doesn't work out. Luke Danger says, Inspiration being a carbon copy also tends to... let's see if we can get over here. Also tends to be surface level red, missing the depth or not doing something unique with it. Tempest Rising did a really good job with Tempest differing from Tiberian. Yeah, I'd agree with that for the most part. I still have to play through Tempest Rising to make my own judgments on that. If I were ever going to make an RTS, I would make sort of the Tiberium equivalent be something like SCP, where like it's just the environment that's attacking you is just crazy things that you can't predict, and you have to start to get used to the types of things that can show up in this world. I feel like that would be a cool way of being inspired by like the danger of the environment the way that Tiberium does, but doing it in a really unique way. Maybe someday I'll get to make that RTS. Luke Danger says, I think the one reason why things like fighting the environment isn't as common oftentimes is I think the games are trying to be esports, whereas TS is more single player. Yes, 100% Luke Danger. I think, like, that's why I think a lot of the Command & Conquer games were so much fun. They were just not trying to be super balanced. They were just trying to be fun single player experiences, or at least fun, like, skirmish experiences at the most. I think that's why I love Age of Mythology so much. Everybody in the esports scenes kind of agrees, like, it is hilariously, like, out of balance, but nobody really cares because it's so much fun to play. And I feel like that's what needs to come back to RTSs. Stop trying to be an esports thing. Stop trying to be balanced for the perfect multiplayer competitive experience, and just be a fun game, you know? I feel like we've forgotten just like how important that is to the long-lasting legacy of an RTS game. Oh, hey, it's Alicia Earl. She says, hey, Snowman, just dropping in while I can today. Glad to see you streaming today. Hope you're well. Yeah, good to see you, Alicia Earl. Yeah, stay for as long as you can. If you need to leave, totally okay. Always happy to see you. Sorry we couldn't get that, I'm going to go back and heal up real quick. Sorry I couldn't get that Oregon Trail playthrough out yet. Just been super busy. We were going to play yesterday, and then I was playing tabletop role-playing last night, so we didn't have time. But I'll try to get it out before the next stream, because we do really want to play that. High Command says, Tiberian Sun Client is an unofficial remaster. Seriously, the sideboard tabs are a huge thing. Oh, do they mean like from Red Alert 2, they add the tabs? That is interesting. That was one of my favorite innovations from Red Alert 2. Let's make sure you're all together when we get this. Nastalogic says, now, I don't talk much about music these days because it's a very subjective topic. Everyone has their own taste, and nowadays you can create your own playlist from YouTube, Spotify, or anywhere else. Yeah, I'm old enough to remember when you would buy a full album on CD and you would just listen to that album over and over again. And honestly, to this day, that's still how I listen to music. I'll find the playlist on YouTube and just listen to the album over and over again. But yeah, with people being able to create playlists on Spotify and being able to like buy music song by song with iTunes, I feel like that's really made us appreciate music less because we're just like spoiled for choice. It used to be a big deal, like, oh, I have enough money to buy a $13 album. I'm going to make the most of this, and this is going to be my whole personality for a month. Guys, I miss the 90s, and I think I especially miss the 2000s. I don't know what it is about the 2000s. I think it's the fact that, like, we had the internet, but we didn't quite have social media yet, so it was, like, the perfect balance of the internet. Like, we had all the fun parts of the internet, but without the really toxic parts yet. And maybe that's nostalgia goggles. I'm sure the 2000s were still pretty toxic. But I just feel like social media and its consequences have been a disaster for the human race. Let's see. Alicia Earl. Oh my, I'm honored that you even considered actually playing Oregon Trail. Thank you so much. So stoked. Yeah, no, absolutely. I've always wanted to play Oregon Trail, and Aussie's super down to do that with me. So we definitely want to do that. I think Rogue is going to play with us too. Trevin Lane. I have destroyed the bridges before getting to the base to help me slow enemy counterattacks. Nod repairs them eventually, but it buys me some time.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Not a bad idea. I think I'll do that real quick. Ba-ba-ba-ba. Hi, Command. What do you think about the Brett Sperry Cain quote? I was literally just looking that up while editing the Nod video. Oh, there they are.
Moving out. On my way. You got it. You got it. Unit, yes, sir. Yes, sir. Unit reporting. Sir. Waiting. Moving out. Unit ready. Unit ready.
Huh. Interesting. I'm guessing this is before they patched the Nod artillery so that it wasn't super powerful. So that's terrifying.
Yes, sir. On my way.
I'm going to go back and heal these guys up again.
On my way.
Yeah, so this, what High Command is talking about is there's a quote from Brett Sperry, I believe from a 2010 interview. I think it was on like a Petroglyph forum or something. I can't find it anywhere now. It's copy-pasted everywhere on CNC community forums, so I'm pretty sure it's legit, but I have legit been trying so hard to find the original quote link anywhere, and I can't find it. So if any of you guys can find an original link for that interview, please let me know, because I've been unable to find it. But basically the quote is Brett Sperry basically finally talking about the nature of Cain and basically saying, okay, here's what Westwood intended. Now, I don't necessarily take it as full canon because obviously EA LA took over the franchise and they added their own spin to it, and I try to have a synchronization between the EA LA games and the Westwood games. So, but that being said, I do take a lot of weight for what the Westwood employees say because I do like their interpretation better. That is my bias. I like the idea of biblical Cain better than alien Cain. Just being upfront with you guys. But basically, Brett Sperry said, yes, Cain is meant to be... What the... What the... Okay, that was just fruitless. That was fruitless. Okay, well, I guess they do bring out the... Okay, well... You know what? Forget it. I'm just going to keep moving forward. But basically, he said, Cain's immortal. We did mean for him to be biblical Cain. He was cast out by God, which I guess means that God does exist in this universe. And that basically his curse meant that he can't be killed. He can be killed briefly, but he will always regenerate. So Cain's got a slow healing factor. And that Cain basically wants to be rid of his curse. So his ultimate goal, at least according to Westwood... Ooh, don't want to touch that. Basically, Cain's ultimate goal is to be free of his curse, to die, but settling for second, he would love to rule mankind. That's kind of his secondary goal. And he believes that the aliens might be a key to unlocking his curse or escaping his prison, which is kind of cool because that means that even under Westwood's beliefs, you could still have Cain wanting ascension, even if he's the biblical Cain. So, yeah, that's sort of my thoughts on that. I love that. I think it's cool. I don't want to take it as necessarily full canon because I think that sort of like loses out on the fun of speculation of like, oh, well, there's the answer. So no more speculation about Cain. Even though I think like, well, we have EALA who's also helping to craft the story, so it can't be fully canon. But I think it's a really cool idea, and I love that because Brett Sperry sort of like introduced that as like, this is what we were thinking. It now means like that is now a valid theory to have, and that is a valid way of looking at Cain, which kind of validates everything I thought would be super cool about Cain. Him being like an almost mythological, supernatural figure. Alright, let me save. And through that, I'm probably really behind on the comments because I had to explain all that. Frostburn says, hello, Snowman. Finally in your element, I see. Liberated Hammerfest. Have a good run today. Thanks, Frostburn. Yes, in my element. I've always loved the snow levels in Tiberian Sun. It looks so good in this engine. Luke Danger. I know what you mean, though part of it is me being at work using YouTube to listen to music while working, so I tend to listen to things grouped together rather than a grab bag. True, I use YouTube to listen to music too because I don't have to buy music, and I don't have ads, so it's easier. Shadow Trooper '09. Hello again. I don't really like the Tundra Mask for skirmish, but I like everything else for it. Fair enough. Augie's Video Pit. Even story-wise, Tip Sun was so cool. I still sometimes play the first GDI mission just to see the cutscenes of the drop pods crushing the cyborg. The track scouting goes really well with it. Cinematic. Absolutely. I 100% agree. That original cinematic, where the hell are those reinforcements? I've used that in so many of my videos just because I love that so much. Frostburn. Also, 90s and 2000s, best time to be a gamer. 100%. Now, I will say the 2010s had some bangers. Uncharted 4, the God of War Norse duology. There were some really great story-based games and some open-world games in the 2010s that were fantastic. But yeah, 90s and 2000s were peak. Let's see, nostalgic. Even in general, I used to listen to music so much, EDM/disco music, but lately I've come to adapt different types of genres like pop, rock, metal, even jazz and classical music at some point. You got good taste in music, buddy. I definitely like jazz. I don't listen to it nearly as much as I should. I love metal, love rock. I love some pop as well. Classical music is more Rogue's thing. Luke Danger says, good thing that the artillery didn't have line of sight on you. Yikes. Yeah, alright, I think that's good enough. We'll keep going. Alicia Earl says, question, what's your favorite era of that subject, Snowman? I know you've been nostalgic from the 90s and 2000s, but are you able to pick a fave? I'm not sure what you mean by era of the 90s, 2000s. I just, like I said, I like the way the internet was at that time. It felt a little more innocent. It felt a little less toxic. I love the movies from the 90s. 2000s also had some great movies, like the Raimi Spider-Man movies that I adore. Oh, here we come. And the music was great. 2000s music was fantastic. I love that rock was at the top of the charts instead of pop. Not that I have anything really against pop, but I just feel like rock tended to be more honest about, like, things like Linkin Park, 3 Days Grace, Red, even like Skillet and Firefly. Like all of those bands, I felt like in that era, it was about being raw and honest about, I'm messed up, I know I'm messed up, and I need help. Whereas I felt like once we get to the 2010s, it starts becoming like, everything's fine, everything's a party, everything's cool, you know? Which is still fun, like I still enjoy that, but like, I don't know. And I'm sure it was all performative, and it was all the musical industry, even back then. I'm not going to pretend like, oh, they were authentic and real, and it wasn't still a business. But I don't know. I just resonated more with like kind of the raw rock music of the 2000s than the newer stuff. I think that's why I kind of got into metalcore in the 2010s, because I felt like that kind of scratched that itch of like raw authenticity that I missed from the 2000s. Xavier CJ, no, I'm not God, but I'm a close second. That's such a baller line. Like, I just, the idea, I said it in my first Nod video, but like the idea that implies that like Cain's like, oh, you silly Mike, silly McNeil, you're saying this is a metaphorical thing, but I literally met God. Like, it's just, it makes Cain so cool if he actually is like biblical Cain. Luke Dager, I like the idea of Cain genuinely wanting to evolve humanity, but trying to break the curse of living forever also works. Plus, tips on evolution could lead a way to break the curse. Yeah, no, I think he does still want to rule humanity. I think by the time of Tiberian Sun, he may have given up on the idea of dying. And also, that, you gotta understand, this is also an interview with Brett Sperry being like, here's what we intended. But that may have changed over time, even from the people. And Brett Sperry wouldn't have been the only person working on this. That's why I don't want to take his word as gospel, because there were other people crafting the story of Cain besides Brett Sperry. And that may have been the initial vision, like in the Tim Dawn era, but it may have changed. And yeah, I think the idea of Cain wanting to evolve humanity, I think there definitely is an aspect of Cain thinking, I can be a better ruler than God, or I can prove to God that I was the brother that should have lived. I'm going to evolve humanity. I'm going to shepherd them through the apocalypse of Tiberian. And I think there really is an aspect of him trying to prove, I was right. I was right to kill Abel. I deserve to live. I deserve to have my sacrifice loved by God. So I wouldn't throw that out, Luke Danger, just because Brett Sperry said that. I think that I still think that this is not a closed discussion of what Cain's motivations were. Nastologic says, Frostburn, I was literally born in the 2000s, the 2001 to be specific, and I also love that era too, yes. Please try not to dox yourselves. Don't put too much personal information in the chat. I want to keep you guys safe. Yeah, but I am definitely a 90s guy. I still think I love the 2000s more. And I have a lot of nostalgia for the 80s, even though I didn't live through that. Trevin Lane says, attacking that outpost is very risky. As soon as one of your units enters that outpost, the Hand of Nod spawns a group of cyber. Good to know. Glad I avoided that. Luke Danger. I'm trying to catch up with the chat before I go into Hammerfest, so one sec. Luke Danger. Plus, depending on how long he's lived, he's probably might be a bit exhausted with everything, though that would explain why he's such a diva in presentation. I've always loved that. I think Jokukan actually does like theater work. That's like his main day-to-day job, like Shakespeare and stuff like that, and it shows. He's a fantastic theatrical villain. Michael Grodel, I always saw Tib evolution as a way to spite God, to do one better than him, to create something better than... Ooh, that's a really cool idea. That's a really cool idea. I like that a lot, Michael Grodel. Nastologic says, that's why Red Alert 2 was my first introduction to the series and the first RTS game I ever played. Really? Awesome. Yeah, Red Alert 1 was my first introduction to the series, so... Luke Danger, almost to the base. Best keep a good leash on the MLRSs so you don't destroy the defenses you'll want to turn on. Yeah, I hate that they automatically can target them. Frostburn says, Nastologic, internet is to be blamed. Too much social media interference. Plus tips on RI2, best titles. Agreed. Shadow Trooper 09. I like how in Skirmish, if you turn on crates, it was the first time I was GDI, and I got a Nod mobile construction vehicle. Another time, I heard chemical missile ready. Yeah, I love the crates. Trevin Lane. When I said destroy the bridges, I was talking about the ones leading to the island with Hammerfest base on it. The others are irrelevant. Oh, okay. Awesome. Nastologic says, I agree, Frostburn. Also, I played Renegade, which might be an unpopular opinion, but I consider that being the black sheep of the series. I would agree with that, Nastologic. I think it used to be Generals was the black sheep of the series, but over time, I think people loved the gameplay so much, they started to not care as much that it's not a story heavy, or it doesn't have cinematic cutscenes, or it's so different from the others. Generals, I think, is now just as beloved as all the others, but for different reasons. Renegade, I think, is more so, or maybe Soul Survivor. I don't think that's Soul Survivor isn't so much the black sheep as the forgotten sheep. Luke Danger says, "Oh, I was figuring Cain had multiple motivations. What with evolution, wanting to die, rule humanity, people are multifaceted." Yeah, I agree. I think that's a better way of looking at Cain. Frostburn says, Nastologic, waiting for Firestorm from Totem Arts. Heard of it even? All right. I've caught up all of the chat. Thank you guys for giving me time. Let's go take out Hammerfest base. If I remember how to do it. Did the base defenses attack me in this game? No. Okay. Alright, I think I have to capture the power plants to turn off the Firestorm defense so I can get inside. I think that's how we do things. So. No, don't do that. I guess I gotta capture another one. Don't attack anything. There we go. No, you idiot. Don't. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Okay. Let's get inside. Can you not do that, please? There we go. Shoot. Alright, let's build some disc throwers. Let's depower you guys. Come on. There we go. Hammerfest based is so cool. Oh, look. Huh. Interesting. It's still charging. Nothing I can do about that. Alright, let's save. We made it. We got Hammerfest base. Let's go. Let me check the chat. Alicia Earl says, "Oh, Snowman, congrats on the collab with the Super Challenge Bros. New video. Watched it and knew immediately you were voice acting. It was definitely a nice surprise to have a 50 spin on the intro." Yeah, thank you. That was so much fun. I've watched that video like 4 or 5 times now. If you guys want to see some really fun like Mario Kart stuff, it's like a 10-minute video. It's super fast-paced and it's super fun. The editing is incredible. Go check out the Super Challenge Bros channel. Their newest video, Punishments with Mario Kart. We have oven mitts. We have so many crazy things over there. It's super fun. Like if you have 10 minutes of free time to spare, honestly, go check it out. And that was so much fun voice acting that, by the way. I feel like in another life I should have been a voice actor. Maybe I wouldn't have been a very good one, but it would be a fun job. Super Challenge Bros. Somebody mention us. Aussie, welcome to the chat. I assume that's Aussie. Luke Danger. So I think the reason you shoot is because it's set to enemy, but all the base defenses are powered down so you don't get shot. Gotcha. Master Logic. Besides, Renegade overall, it says Command and Conquer, yet is an FPS. Seems a little confusing to me. I'm not hating that they want to do something different. It's just how it's executed. Yeah, I'm not opposed to FPS being a thing in Command and Conquer. Like I said, I still mourn the loss of the canceled FPS Tiberian that was supposed to be set after Command and Conquer 3. I wish there was more of that. And less mobile games. Frostburn. Hammerfest is ours. Yay. Luke Danger. Sadly, it doesn't turn back on when you retake the base, so you have to do it manually. Fair enough. Alicia Earl says you have been summoned.
Waiting order. Orders received.
Alright. I guess I don't have the RPG turrets yet, which is a shame, except for the ones that are already built. I'm going to need more power. Oh, here we go. Nope, nope, nope. Can you not? Can you? Oh my gosh. Thank you. I'm going to have to deal with artillery. Who would have thunk that this part of the mission would end up being harder? Alright, I also need harvesters, or I'm going to run out of money fast. Harvesters! Alright, they're going to get tired of attacking my Firestorm defense base at a certain point. I also love the idea that Hammerfest base has Firestorm defenses like that far out, because that's just part of their defense grid. If I remember correctly, in the lore, this is supposed to be where we're developing the disruptor technology, because we have the disruptor crystals here. Alright. Good, 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 good. Save. Trevor Lane says, I usually depower the Firestorm generator. It's power hungry, but it only protects the center of the base. Yeah, and if they don't have super weapons, it's not that big of a deal, so that's a good point. Shadow Trooper 09 says, is it a good idea to build lots of harvesters? I noticed they stopped working when they run out of Tiberian. I just think it's cheaper to build 2 more harvesters than to build 2 more refineries. Alright. Let's go take this area of the base. We're also going to want to build more Titans eventually.
Yes, sir. Orders received. Yes, sir. I'm on it. Infantry reporting.
Why do you do that? Why do you do that? I hate that the walls are still set to enemy. Oh, shrimp! Ah, okay, I'm going to load back. That was uncalled for. Luke Danger says, it is. There was a mission where I forgot before we do the rescue the mutants grabbing the sonic crystals. Gotcha. I know there's a way you can beat that one mission where you destroy the train really early and you get the disruptor crystals back very quickly. I've never actually played the full mission. Actually, I think I have once. A long time ago. Shrimp, Snowman. Yeah, if you want to know why I say weird, funny things like that, I grew up in a fairly, like, I don't know what the word is for it. But, like, cursing was not really allowed at home, and so when I got older and I went to college, I started hearing a lot of like curse words more frequently than I ever did before, and I didn't want to start saying them just from osmosis, so I started like consciously trying to throw weird things that I would say when I was frustrated, so that would become my default when I was frustrated. And now I can't stop, so I'm just stuck saying these weird things forever when I'm frustrated. And the D train is mentioned multiple times. Like, at this point, it would probably be better if you just cussed, because all the weird things that I say when I'm frustrated now. Michael Groto says a quote for the ages. Dang, should have clipped it. Frostburn says shrimp emoji. Alright, won't stay that way, but we'll do what we can. Nostalgic, but the good thing about Renegade is the multiplayer. I mean, it's been out for so long that it's barely playable. There's still a dedicated fan community, but it's very small at this point.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's rough. Let's bring you back here to heal. Do we not have a... Let's go to Service Depot.
Building. Building
Sir.
online.
I hate that the Harvesters don't automatically go to get the Tiberium when they come out of the War Factory.
Yes, sir.
Get over here.
On my way.
Okay, save again. Okay. Trevin Lane says, destroying all the SAM sites on Hammerfest Island results in some reinforcements flying it. Oh, interesting. I was going to do that because of OCD. Augie's video pit. That's pretty funny. I assume you're talking about my story of why I say holy shrimp.
Yes, sir.
Luke Danger. Huh. I don't think I ever triggered them. Do you think they were meant for before you take the base back?
I'm on it.
Yeah, I agree with Luke Danger. I don't think I've ever actually seen anyone
Yes, sir.
get reinforcements on this mission. Here, go heal. Heal thyself, physician.
Unit loud and clear.
Where does that phrase come from, heal thyself, physician?
Loud and clear.
Augie's video pit says, leaving now, great stream, need to do some Dawn of War with a pal, but cool stream. We'll be returning in the future. Thanks, buddy, appreciate you being here. Have some fun playing Dawn of War. Alright, let's build one of these. And honestly, we just need to build up a base at this, build up an army at this point. Just go get them. Sky Vipers, welcome back to the stream. Harvesters, drivers spend all that time and money building you a wonderful machine. The least you can do is lighten their burden and point them where the green glowing rocks are. You're right, my mistake.
No problem. Unit reporting.
Michael Roto says, don't mention the reinforcements. I still have PSD from the last stream where it wouldn't land. That has never happened to me before. I don't know what that was about.
Yes, sir. Sir.
You get down here.
Yes, sir.
Super Challenge Bros clipped it. Oh, wow. Okay, I guess Aussie's doing that for me now. Trevor Lane, get your defenses up. Flame tanks are inbound. Thanks for stopping by. Good point. I forgot. They do get you eventually. Let's go ahead and get some these down because the road they'll be able to get up there anyway. Oh, I need more power. Oh, you're right. That did take a lot of power. Frostburn says, Nostalgic Renegade X, fan version of OG Renegade, made also by Totem Arts. It's still popular from what I've heard. Still waiting for the Firestorm. Wanted to experience Tiberian Sun with boots on the ground. Me too. If they ever made a Command and Conquer movie, I would want it to be a Tiberian Sun movie, and I want it to be like the movie Dread, where it's not a full retelling of the story, but instead just a day in the life of a soldier boots on the ground during one battle. Sort of like Gettysburg, if you guys have ever seen that film. Okay. Okay. Alright, let's build some Titans. And let's get some more pavement down. Chase Baker, welcome back to the stream. Hey Snowman, I'm feeling conspiratorial. Do you think EA withheld tips on source code for a remaster, or is that lost to history? Well, you've talked to the right video game fan who loves Deus Ex, so I'm all about conspiracies. The fun ones, anyway. That's a good question. I keep hearing that the source code was lost for Red Alert 2 and Tiberian Sun, but I have literally never been able to find any actual, like, hard, concrete evidence online for that, which makes me think that this was just something somebody repeated, and it was never, never verified. Because again, I've never seen anything to verify that. So the question then is, are they not making a second remaster because it's actually lost, or is this a situation where there's more nefarious reasons for why they're doing it? I don't really know. I can't think of a reason why EA would hold it back, especially since I think the first one sold really well. Nice. So, I don't know. Did you have any ideas? Sky Vipers says, the first part of that movie will be the harvester driver getting yelled at by his commanding officer for not immediately driving to the fields. That would be a fun little Easter egg. Michael Grodel says, you know what's really annoying? Tiberium is supposed to be growing rapidly and destroying the Earth, so why won't it respawn faster? I hate leaving my harvesters open. Yeah, it still spreads further and farther and faster than it ever does in Tiberium Wars. But yeah, I do wish it was... Oh my gosh, you were right! Reinforcements! Look at that! Oh look, they rebuilt the bridge. Let's go! That's a good amount of reinforcements. And they rebuilt that one too. I'm gonna have to send more guys up there. I'll wait for my harvesters to replenish my stuff a bit. You guys will be on... just you. Anyway, Nastologic says, so I don't know if it's possible to get the game running, but it used to be on GameSpy, which shut down, and that is already really sad. Not just for running with the overall series. I wonder why it closed. GameSpy shut down a long time ago, and so now there's a lot of like fan servers to replace all the games that used to do GameSpy. Things like Game Ranger and other fan stuff. Lou Danger says, Gettysburg-style Tiberian Sun movie, so Nod gets routed by fixed bayonets when the pulse rifles run out of their 100-round magazines. Oh, I love that you've seen Gettysburg. That's like one of my top 3 favorite movies of all time. I watch it annually, usually around July, when the battle would have actually happened, which means I haven't seen it this year, so I need to remedy that. Just the idea of, like, commanders actually talking about strategy and what to do, desperate moves on the ground to win the battle. So whatever the equivalent in the Tiberian Sun universe is for of fixed bayonets. I don't know what that would be. Fixed disc throwers? I don't know. Michael Grodel, I think W3D has a Renegade servers open these days. Aussie says, yeah, I think there's something fishy with the source code being lost. I don't buy it. Aussie is more suspicious than I am, which means he's probably going to get less fooled than I will in the future. We'll see. We'll see. Again, I have no actual evidence for the source code being lost. That might just be something that's been passed around and repeated, but with no actual basis for it. I'm going to get killed by artillery, aren't I? Let's go as far as we can. Yep. Whoop. Don't. No, okay. Dang it, I hate the fact that the artillery just follows you. You fired earlier and I moved. It should go where it was. Like, how did they miss that in testing? Anyway. Alright. There's just my strategy is just to build up a crap ton of Titans and then go get them. I'm not going to go in through the back gate because the artillery is just going to destroy me. So instead, we're going to go through the front with just a crap ton of Titans. They're not attacking me as much as I thought they would, honestly.
Unit reporting.
Trevin Lane says the southernmost bridge at Hammerfest Island does not have a bridge repair hut and is the least defended route into Nod's base. All of their entrances are guarded by artillery and obelisks. Which one is that? I don't know which one. Oh, this one doesn't have a repair hut on this side. I see. Yeah, unfortunately. Oh, I hear drilling. I hear drilling.
Building. Construction complete. Building. Construction complete.
Oh, here we go.
Subterranean unit detected. Building.
Unit reporting. Yes, sir.
Subterranean unit detected.
Orders received. Orders received.
Subterranean unit.
On my way. Sir.
Alright, let's build some base defenses around this area since they're probably going to keep going through here. Anyway. Yeah. Luke Danger. One reason I could see is realizing that fans would expect them to fully develop all the mechanics that Tiberian Sun was trying to do, but didn't have the tech to do properly. That's a conspiracy theory land. Yeah, who knows? Aussie says, Luke, that's an underrated chat message on the Gettysburg Tiberian Sun idea. Master Logic says, speaking of the second remaster collection, in Jethod's video, his thoughts on the future of the series, it showed the cover art of the remastered collection 2. Yeah, that's been floating around for a while now. I think it's the same artist who did the cover art for the first one, which actually was a fan art that made it in to the actual official product, which I always thought was really cool.
On my way.
Alright, I think I'm going to come up this way. This looks the best. I don't think they have a lot of air power, so I'm not going to do a lot of hover on Lores's. I think I'm just going to keep making Titans. Maybe we'll throw in a few Wolverines and some disc throwers, but for the most part... Alright, where are you dropping now?
Subterranean unit detected. Building. Subterranean unit
How's
detected.
it going?
Unit ready. Construction complete. Building.
Okay, interesting choice. Yeah, it's these two crossroads here that they like going to. Oh, they do have some air power. How about that? Sky Viper says, in Vanilla Tiberian Sun, there was a bug where you could sell your power plants while the Firestorm generator was on, and it would keep the wall up indefinitely. I think I do remember that hack. Yeah. Alright, let's save. And we're going to catch up on the chat while we're waiting for our Titans to build. Luke Danger says, I'm going to get killed by artillery, aren't I? Yep, and that's the bridge. That's Seek and Artie, yeah. Given how many missions involve it later, how did they miss it? I must be really behind on the chat. Alright, give me a chance to catch up on the chat, guys. One sec. Ozzy says, agree. Chase Baker says, I like the... Oh, I'm almost at the end anyway. Never mind. Okay. Chase Baker, like the artillery, Westwood did not miss that, probably. Ozzy says, I watched The Gods and Generals with Rogue, and we suffered through the first 2 hours, and then we realized that that was a second disc, and we were like, nope. I should read the book that Gods and Generals is based off of, because I heard that that's better. I read the last 2 ones. The Killer Angels and The Last Full Measure. The Killer Angels is the book that Gettysburg is based off of. Alright, I'm going to say that's good, and we're going to build up some more Wolverines and some more disc throwers. Where's the disc throwers?
Training.
We could also build some jet infantry, but that was just kind of expensive and not really what I need right now. Trevor Lane says, 3 Orca fighters will kill an artillery unit fast, although you will likely lose 1 to AA. I often use jump troopers to find enemy power and Orcas to destroy them. Not a bad idea. I just, the Orca fighters, I hate having to use them. I would much rather use the Orca bombers when I get a chance, even if they are super expensive. We'll give it a shot. I'm going to give a shot attacking just straight up through the front door with a butt ton of Titans. And if that doesn't work, we'll load back and go the other route. Oh, you're going to go back? Aw, don't want to fight?
Unit reporting. Orders
Loser.
received. No problem. Unit ready. You got it.
Frostburn. Nothing beats the Titan Wolverine mixed with Mammoth Mark II. Indeed it does, as long as you're careful that you don't hit your own forces with the Mammoths. I'm more of a Mammoth Disruptor guy myself, when I get the chance. Luke Danger says, in CNC, you can rarely go wrong with more GDI armored vehicles to overwhelm Nod. Pretty much. Michael Roto says, what particularly about the Revolutionary War vibe style do you like? Ooh. So, speaking of that, I don't know if you guys are familiar with Jeff Shara. So, Michael Shara was an author, and he wrote The Killer Angels, which was the book that Gettysburg is based off of. And then he died, and his son found that his father had notes and was going to write another book on the Civil War. So his son, Jeff Shara, finished it. And then Jeff Shara basically just started writing a ton of books in that same style, covering a bunch of different wars, where it would basically be World War I, World War II, the Civil War, the Revolutionary War, but from like the various different perspectives of generals and politicians. So he wrote a duology on the Revolutionary War. One was called Rise to Rebellion, which kind of focuses on the run-up to the Revolution and the early days of like Lexington and Concord and the Siege of Boston. And then he wrote The Glorious Cause, which is like my favorite book, which covers the actual full war. I just really like the underdog status of the war, of the Revolutionary War, and also, you know, I'm American, so it's kind of cool to kind of understand our history and, for lack of a better term, our cultural mythology. And I just think that the strategy is just so interesting because you have a war where you can't go toe-to-toe with the British. You just can't. And so Washington adopts a Fabian strategy of just kind of hit and run, choosing his battles very carefully, only the ones that he knows that he can win. And I just think that's super cool. Just how the country had to figure out how to fight a much bigger force, and then eventually finding a way to get the French on side. It's just, I don't know. I like the idea. Like, I like the Civil War too, but there's just something about the scrappiness of the U.S. versus the professional Redcoat Army and having to basically find asymmetrical warfare in order to win in an age of gunpowder muskets, bayonets, cavalry charges, and artillery that I just find really fascinating. I don't know if that answers your question. Whoop, I got very behind on the chat. Aussie says, ooh, that Mammoth is a beautiful piece of hardware. Indeed it is. Here, make me more. Make me more. Ah, I love this song. Trevor Lane says, artillery and air power seems to be how Westwood was trying to balance Nod in a straight fight. Yeah, and I think they overcorrected in a lot of ways. Luke Danger says, well, it's just Disruptor here, though. Funnily enough, I did like the idea of a Mammoth Disruptor as Zocom's Mammoth replacement if they didn't get railguns. Yeah, I really... Look, I love the Marv, but I really wish that at the very least... Steel Talons would have gotten the Mammoth Mark II or the Mammoth Mark III for their experimental unit, their epic unit. I feel like that would have been way cooler. Frostburn says, Super Challenge Bros. Yeah, those railguns and AA batteries. Ozzy says, unbeatable combo, Frostburn. I would love to combine the Ghost Stalker with the Mammoth, and it was so much fun. Frostburn says, and the chain gun. Right, because the chain gun's only available in the cinematics. The Mammoth does not have a machine gun in any actual gameplay. I guess he just wanted to die.
Sir, moving out, sir.
Alright, let's build some more Wolverines. Nastologic, big question, Snowman. Will you do any special video for CNC since 26th of September? It'll be the 30th anniversary this year. So basically like a trivia of the series, just saying if it was possible. I was unaware that we were coming up on the 30th anniversary. I feel bad for not noticing that. I don't know.
Unit ready.
Life is generally busy, and deadlines freak me out and flare up my anxiety. So the reality is, I'm probably not gonna end up doing something just because real life concerns and other things. But I don't know. Maybe a live stream, that would be kind of pretty low key. So if you guys would like to see like an anniversary live stream, that would be cool. I'm not sure what I would do with a live stream, if I just like playing a video game, or if you'd want me to actually like talk about lots of stuff on the channel, or CNC lore, or I don't know. If you guys have any ideas for what you'd like me to do for the 30th anniversary, let me know. We have some time to think about it. And who knows, I might be in a better place by September, so maybe I will get some verve to want to go do something special. Aussie says, I forgot about the chain gun. Frostburn. Still can't get over the fact that it didn't make it to the final game. The Baldric Alpha. That's a cool name. Oh my god, I finally caught one. Hi everyone. Welcome, Baldric Alpha. Welcome to the chat. Good to have you. We have fun here. Alright, I think this is enough. I think I have enough. If this isn't enough, then I'll just load back. Luke Danger says, the British said that George Washington was a general who knew how to retreat. If you understand the difficulties of keeping an army together in such a situation, you know the compliment that it is. Oh, absolutely. And that was one of the reasons why Washington respected Lafayette so much, because even when things got really bad and they had to retreat, he was able to basically keep things in an orderly retreat so that it's not just chaos. An orderly retreat is absolutely underrated, and Washington was smart about not fighting battles he knew he could win for the most part. Early on in the war, he made a lot of blunders with like New York and Brandywine, which are still understandable because that was rough. A lot of people are like, oh, he wasn't a great general, and I'm like, he was a fantastic general. Was he a good like battlefield commander? I mean, he was no Napoleon, but he understood big picture, a similar way that Ulysses S. Grant did. He understood that the army was the most important thing, and that flashy battlefield victories weren't what are going to win the war. Instead, it was survival. It was continuing to be a thorn in the British side. And I just feel like Washington needs more respect, because as a battlefield commander, he understood how to win the war, even if it meant losing battles or retreating.
Base under attack.
Okay, well... Yeah, Super Challenge Bros says, welcome. Baldric Alpha. Luke Danger says, though to be fair, the Continental Army did need to develop a professional army to actually do anything. It just took someone like von Steuben and giving him something to work with. Absolutely. Yeah, I love, Luke Danger, that you know about von Steuben. He was a Prussian, I believe, who came over to volunteer to fight, and he basically, during Valley Forge, trained these untrained Continental Army how to march, how to follow orders, how to fight like a professional army. Von Steuben's one of my favorite historical figures from that period. 100% like Luke Danger. You know a lot about history. I'm actually really impressed. Shadow Trooper 09. Did you want that component tower defense where you just placed it? Because I think if you place them on the wall next to one another and attached to the wall. There's not a lot I can do about that, just because I can't put them on the wall, because they still technically are considered enemy walls. If that's what you're talking about. I might have misinterpreted what you said. Trevin Lane, I feel like Steel Talons just gone, vaporized. I feel like Steel Talons should have had disruptors instead of Mammoth Mark III, and the Mammoth Mark II instead of the Marv. Absolutely. I would have loved more Tib Sun Tech, but I get that fixed with the Tiberian. I get that fixed with the Tiberian Essence mod that brings back a lot of. Oh, hello. Luke Danger says, I guess he just wanted to die. Probably a guy dying from T exposure. Nod hasn't started using the Fanatics yet. Good point. And there go my disc throwers, because that was a dumb move anyway. Keep moving, guys. Keep moving. Oh my gosh, that artillery. Holy crap. That's a narrow pass. Go, 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 go. Just run them over.
Yes. No. On my way. Moving out. On my way. You got it.
Let's go, let's go, let's go, go. Just rush the base. Just rush the base.
On my way. Yes, sir. No problem. You got it. On my way.
I hate how devastating the artillery is in this game. Alright, we're going to load back, guys. We're going to go with Trevin's strategy. We're going to go out the back door, but we're going to use orcas to deal with it. Anyway, Aussie says, lol. Nastologic says, just looked at the wiki, lol, but don't worry, there's still time. Yeah. Alicia Earl says, I had to go, sadly, but I'm back now. Hopefully I didn't miss a cutscene. No, you didn't miss a cutscene. I just failed to attack the base.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to try another tack this time. See what happens.
Sir. On my way. Sir. Yes, sir. Sir. Orders received. Yes, sir.
Alright, also, I'm not going to worry with Wolverines. I'm just going to keep building Titans. And hope that that works. Luke Danger says, have a good one, Alicia. I think Alicia just came back, actually. Luke Danger says, right. Alicia says, I'm having a good nice, thank you. Luke corrected himself with night. Shadow Trooper 09, I have an idea to do a skirmish on a randomly generated map with hopefully a lot of cities. I love cities in this game. I love the cities too. What I don't love is that the cities become targets for the for the Hunter Seekers. And the enemy Hunter Seekers, I swear, they are able to actually select things because they will go for my construction yard, but mine never hit anything important. That is just so unfair. All right, let's give this a go. Let's see if we can make this work. All right, let's build some Titans just to defend the base while I'm gone, and let's see what we can do. Michael Grohl said, Washington was absolutely a master of Fabian tactics. Good generals know when to attack. Thank you, Michael Grohl. And Fabian was the Roman prefect who was able to beat Hannibal because he refused to fight him if he didn't think he could win. Like, I think that was honestly the thing that I see about Ulysses Grant versus General Lee. General Lee was a fantastic battlefield commander, and he was good at getting flashy victories on the battlefield, but I don't think General Lee saw big picture enough. Ulysses Grant did see big picture, and I think that's why he was able to win the war. You know, no shade against General Lee, but like, I think he's a little overrated. Just maybe that's a hot take, but I think General Lee's a little overrated as a general. Frostburn says, Alicia Earl, still at it, but glad you're back. Alicia Earl says, awesome, thanks, Ozzy. Or Glusman says, I try to talk on the Sonic games here in the chat, but it doesn't let me. It blocks my comments. Yeah, I don't know what that's about. But I know the D-Train wanted to cover Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 for my channel, so we might do that in the future. But for now, I guess we'll keep it to CNC. The Baldric Alpha, I've watched them all on catch-up. Last time I missed. Oh, you've watched all the old streams? I appreciate that. Alright, let's see what you guys can do. Oh my gosh, you're right. 3 orcas did it. We did lose one, but not a bad exchange, assuming they don't build more artillery. And we got to see a lot more of their base. So yeah, it looks like we got... Who is it? I don't know what they're attacking. Alright. I don't see any other artillery. I could be wrong. I know there's some up front, but I think... Is that the only ones out back? We can test it with some Wolverines. Alright, let's see what we can do. I'm going to see what we can do. Let me catch up on the chat, and then we'll try to go through the back door. Trevin Lane says, I also feel that Zocom should have leaned more into the power armor and Sonic tech. Absolutely. I feel that way about the Nod sub-factions as well. I feel like they really should have leaned more with Black Hand into being that secret cult. And Marked of Cain should have had a lot more cyborgs that aren't vulnerable to anti-infantry stuff, because they're cyborgs. They shouldn't do that. Alicia Earl says, haha, Frostburn, thank you, you know. Aussie says, you've watched all the archive streams? Yeah. Baldrick says, it was joining just as the stream ended. Or Glusman says, I suggested that you can take a look at the lore of the Sonic games. That would make the D-Train very happy. Baldrick Alpha, yes, so far the Super Challenge Bros. Or Glusman says, if you need my help with the Sonic game timelines, you can contact me, email, or Zoom. I'm a lore junkie myself. Might take you up on that. Baldrick Alpha says, I do love deep dive lore vids. Ozzy says, that's dedication. Thanks for the support on the channel, Baldrick. Luke Danger says, me knowing von Steuben. To be fair, Liberty's Kids. Oh, I love Liberty's Kids. I used to watch that when I was a kid. I need to find those again for my kids someday. Yes, the PBS show actually took the time to explain why lining up was actually important and not being foolish. Well, yeah, I mean, we wouldn't get rifled barreling until like the Civil War era, at least not commonly, so you weren't really going to hit anything otherwise. I need to watch Liberty's Kids again. Fantastic. But yeah, I learned about von Steuben from The Glorious Cause, that book by Jeff Shaar I mentioned before. My parents were very, very interesting as far as educating us. So you got to read a lot of like really cool historical stuff just for like light bedtime reading. Alicia Earl, oh my gosh, Liberty's Kids, man, that was a piece of my childhood forgotten. Good stuff, guys. Or Glusman says, it's like the Battle of Thermopylae. In what way? Ozzy says, Snowman is terribly far behind on the chat again. Yes, I am. Trevin Lane, you can queue up more orcas than you have helipads. You also start with one. I'm aware. I like having them go each to each. That's just me. Nastologic says, lol. Luke Danger says, run it, darn it. Though I was quoting it from memory. Alicia Earl says, Snowman who just doesn't want to miss a single chat. I know. I like hearing what you all have to say. And in a lot of chats I'm a part of, they ignore everyone. So, yeah, I'm a bit of a completionist. Frostburn says, by the way, how often do you guys use mods? Recently, I got OpenRA's Combined Arms as my CNC fix, and it's just Homelander level. Perfect love letter from fans to fans. I haven't played Combined Arms yet. Usually, the mods I play are Tiberian Essence for CNC 3, and like I said, I'm currently going through Twisted Insurrection for Tib's Son. I also played the Forgotten mod a bit for CNC 3. I never finished it. I'm not a huge mod guy. In generals, we've played the Shockwave mod, and D-Train loves the Chaos Shockwave mod, so that's all I play these days. Alicia Earl, Snowman, if you caught up on the chat, blink twice. If you choose to be behind all the time, read the next chat. I'm not trying to be behind, guys. I would appreciate it if you don't chat so much for a little bit, just until I catch up, and then we'll go back to the game. Michael Groda, yeah, Fabian was that guy. He's my favorite second Punist War general. I assume your first favorite Punic War is either Hannibal or Scipio Africanus, who is the only person who could match Hannibal. Gosh, I love that you guys actually know history. History is my jam, guys. That is like my favorite thing. Super Challenge Bro says, lol. Chase Baker, would you consider building and deploying an overabundance of super weapons and generals to the point that your computer forces close the game as a rite of passage? I have not done that. I don't think I've ever built enough super weapons for that to happen. Alicia Earl says, I'm crying laughing. Ozzy says, Chase Baker, I've tried that before. Wasn't able to get it to crash, though. Snowman, you're getting roasted by your own chat, and you don't even know it until 5 minutes from now. I know. Frostburn, maybe you just haven't built enough of them. Definitely. Or Glusman, hey, do you like Maxor Snowman? I don't know what that is. Nastologic, I've also a little bit that completionist. The Super Challenge Bros in some ways. It also depends on what types of games has a chance to go for 100%. Alicia Earl, haha, I always roast my favorite YouTubers. It's fun. Yes, you do, Alicia. Yes, you do. Frostburn, nothing can go wrong with building 20 Scud Storms. Trevin Lane, they will. 5 or 6 orcas down a power plant, allowing you to walk through the laser defenses and rush down Nod's product. That's a good idea, Trevin Lane. See? This is the reason why I'm stopping to read the chat, because last time I missed a lot of really good advice from you guys and like blundered through the last couple of missions. So I'm genuinely doing this also so that I can play this mission better. Chase Baker, Super Challenge Bros. I recommend using an older PC system. Works wonders in all the wrong ways. Baldrick Alpha, I love CNC. Tib's Son for life, but I'm an Anton Slavic fanatic. Yes, I hope to go through the Nod campaign once we're done with this one. Anton Slavic is probably my favorite Nod figure outside of Cain. He's just so competent, you know? The Super Challenge Bros, for sure. If I love the game a lot, I'll 100% it. Like Lego Marvel Superheroes. Oh yeah, I 100%ed that too. Michael Grodel, I've never been an Orca fan myself, except for the console's secret mission where they get the obelisk laser. I don't know what that you're referring to. Or Glusman, I kind of made my own complete Sonic timelines based on the lore of the game that includes Nocturnus Clan from the Sonic Chronicles, the Dark Brotherhood. Trevin Lane says, I wish the Orca Fighter would fight other aircraft. As it is pretty worth. Yeah, no, it's called Orca Fighter. Why don't you fight other orcas? What the shrimp? Luke Danger, speaking of the Forgotten and Tib Essence, I do dislike how mods keep trying to make GDI trying to eradicate the mutants when the lore establishes that GDI does the exact opposite, even in Nod sources. Yeah, I don't really get that. Like, especially in Tiberian Sun, like, yeah, they're a little racist. They have the whole Shiner terminology. And General Solomon doesn't seem to care especially about them in this game, but he still cares about them a lot more than Nod does, and GDI has always, especially in the post-Tib Sun era, supposed to be trying to make overtures with the Forgotten. So, Nod is the one that explicitly in the Nod campaign of Tiberian Sun allies with them only to double-cross them, and is just using them, so... But they're trying to add moral complexity, I think, because CNC3 added a lot more moral complexity to GDI. Not that we didn't have a little bit of that in Tib Sun. It's like, I get why they do it, but yeah, it feels a betrayal of what GDI would do. Sometimes it's okay for the good guys to be the good guys. Nastalogic says, oh my gosh, Super Challenge Bros, I'm also the one who likes Lego games, specifically Lego Pirates of the Caribbean, Lego Batman, and, oh yeah, all the Lego Batman ones. Super Challenge Bros, yeah, air-to-air capabilities for the Orcas would be pretty nice. A lot like the Firehawks from Tiberian Wars. Okay, let's see what we can do with the Orcas. No, don't abort. Okay. I'm going to build 2 more, because you said you needed 5 to destroy a power plant. Alright, let's destroy this and get moving. Oh, wait. Real quick. Does it just mirror the bridge is more destructible in this mission than they normally are? I don't know where else I can build. Oh yeah, walking through Tiberium, not smart. Yeah, air-to-air capabilities for the Orcas would be pretty nice. A lot like the Firehawks from Tiberian Wars. I love the Firehawks in Tiberian Wars. Trevin Lane says, I often keep 3 Orca fighters as a QRF force able to down an attacking artillery or tank quickly. That's smart. Let's get you guys over here. Or Glusman. Maxor is a YouTube personality who focuses on video games. His videos focus on rapid-fire comedy, intentional research mistakes, and super fast editing. All of it played for laughs. Yeah, I don't think I've ever come across his channel. Aussie says, Rogue and I love the Lego games. Me, though, more than Rogue. Alicia Earl says, what the shrimp? Okay, I missed something. Yeah, I say that. Ozzy says, haha, I thought you were there for that. Or Glusman says, even with all the chaos unfolding, Maxor does manage to make a salient point every now and again. Just don't expect it to stick around too long. Alicia Earl says, no, I will forever say, what the shrimp now? No, you can't take my line. Okay. Let's see what we can do. I'm probably still really far behind on the chat. Trevin Lane says, you can also sneak some HR MLRSs near the power plants to down them faster. Oh, can I? Oh, you're right. I can. That actually would be a good way of seeing where the artillery is, too. I'm going to wait. Let's see what we can do with that. Good idea, Trevin. You guys are 3, so we're going to make you guys 2. Frostburn says, remember, mutant lives matter. Yes, they do. Love Trados. Trados is one of my favorite characters in this game. Let's get you guys up here. Can I not do... Oh, that may have only been added in Firestorm. The rally point. Frostburn says, sauce perhaps? Shadow Trooper 9. What if you use Juggernauts if you can lure them out and protect the Juggernauts? Yeah, there's no Juggernauts in this one. They don't get added until Firestorm, unfortunately, Shadow Trooper. Super Challenge Bros says, Visceroid sighting. Oh gosh, I'm so behind. Again, guys, please just stop chatting for half a second so I can catch up and then you can go. I'm so far behind. Luke Danger. Oh yeah, walking through Tiberian. That's smart. Without medics too. Oh yeah, I keep forgetting medics.
Ready.
Right, let's get you guys up here.
Sir. Yes, sir.
Alicia Earl. I like him playing. No thanks. Super Challenge Bros. Or Frostburn says, Super Challenge Bros. What? Where? Aussie says he had a guy die in the tip field. Aussie says, not too far behind in the chat. If you've read this message, just trust me, bro. Okay, thank God. Trevor Lane says, you will need to down 3 or 4 power plants to depower the base.
Sir.
Will
Yes,
do. Alicia Earl says, I can take your line. I already repeat Rogue enough from that one video with music where she said it's called massive regurgitation. And Rogue goes, I live by repeating lines. Fair enough. I'll take it as a form of affection. I love when music says, excuse me, I am a lady. Luke Danger. To be honest, when I did Tiberian Sun properly, I looked up the maps on the Ava database to look around for areas to use the hover MLRS and similar hidden things. Made it a lot easier. Yeah, I think it's because unlike the Red Alert games where you can see the whole map if you're the allies, in future games where there just isn't this heavy fog of war, there's still so many unexplored areas that you can miss. So there's still things about this game I'm discovering. I know there's like a secret mission you can get if you go to a train at the top of the map. If any of you guys remember that, please make sure I don't miss it when I get to that point in the live stream, because I want to experience that. I don't think I've ever did as a kid, and I saw it online years later.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We'll make you our... Let's make another force. Super Challenge Bros laughed. Alicia Earl. Aussie, you might not want to tell Rogue that one. Trevin Lane. Rally points will not go to terrain that is not traversed by... okay, I gotcha. That makes sense. Aussie says, why do you call him Rouge? Alicia Earl, that's my way of respecting him. Aussie says, we'll remind you by spamming in the chat. Or Glusman. Snowman, do you know the French animated educational history show for kids, Once Upon a Time, Man? They have an episode on the American Revolution. All their episodes are officially on YouTube. I have not heard of that, so I might have to check that out. All right, well, I'm all caught up with the chat, so hopefully I won't get behind again. We'll see what we can do. All right, let's get these guys over here. Make sure we save. Trevin Lane says, I often use jump jet troopers flying through the Nod base to scout. Yes, they will die, but the info is invaluable. Scout? Jump jet troopers, some of you may die, but it is a sacrifice I am willing to make. Ozzy says, he's caught up. Welcome back, Commander Snowman. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Alicia Earl says, yeah, Snowman, you're better than that. Ah, man, I'm so happy to be doing Hammerfest. Oh, look, it's playing Slave to the System as the music. Let's move around the left. I love that the mobile sensor array doesn't just scan for stealth and underground units, but you can see on the map things you can't see through the fog of war. Alright, we're going to want to bring these MLRSs up one at a time because I don't want them all getting murked by artillery. I wish more maps had like river systems and things like this, because I feel like on a lot of the skirmish maps there's not enough water to make GDI's amphibious actually like a factor that can be exploited. Because I want it to be, because Nod has such an advantage with the drilling that can go anywhere. It's like, come on. They don't even get blocked by water. Okay, here we go. Luke Danger says, well, Nod cyborgs are slave to the system. Indeed they are. I still want to do a video on Cabal and the Firestorm Crisis at some point, because I feel like, again, if Tiberian Sun was a unique take on post-apocalypse, then
Orders received. Moving out.
the Firestorm Crisis is such a unique take on an AI takeover, in my opinion. Okay, where's the artillery?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. On my way. Yes, sir.
Unit lost.
Okay, this guy right here. Uh-oh, what happened? What happened? Oh, sorry, my monitor went bland for a bit. Michael Rodel says, what would you say is the best character in the Soviet campaign for RA1 besides Stalin and Cain? That's a good question. If we're counting the expansions, I would say it's your commanding officer in the Aftermath missions. He only shows up in the console versions. He didn't show up in the PC version. The guy who actually feels bad about wiping out the Grunyev province. I always thought that was interesting, that we get to see some complexity with the morality of the characters, even in the brutal Stalinist Soviet regime. That there's some people that just don't feel right about wiping out their own people. What is my monitor doing? It is... Okay. Alright, let's see if there's any others. Going back to the chat. Trevin Lane, the mobile sensor array is such a useful unit. I wish they developed them. Alicia Earl, love how these streams make me feel like I'm learning new lore about the game. Yeah, absolutely, Alicia. And I appreciate you being, like, open to learning new stuff because, like, this is not an easy thing to get into, especially RTS. So I'm glad you enjoy it. All right, let's see if there's any others.
Yes, sir. On my way. On my way.
Yep, we got more.
On my way. Orders received.
Where is it? Where's the artillery? Here it is.
Ready.
All right. All right, this should be good.
Unit lost. Unit lost.
That did it.
Unit lost.
All right, let's see if we can take out the power now. Frostburn says, Luke Danger, and then Cabal sets them free and loose. Aussie says, I'm learning stuff too, Alicia Earl. Just Vic. Oh, welcome to the chat, Just Vic. Do snowmen melt in Tiberian sun? In the Tiberian sun? Maybe. Oh, come on, you idiots.
You got it.
Ah, whatever. We'll just destroy the power.
Yes, sir.
Alicia Earl says, we're in this together, Ozzy. Luke Danger. More like enslave them to his will instead of nods. Though I do like... Whoa.
Yes, sir. No problem. Yes, sir. No problem. Moving out. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
The Devil's Tongues are scary, but they have very little armor.
Yes, sir. Moving out.
No, no.
Orders received. Yes, sir. Orders received. Orders received. On my way.
What's this? You're getting closer?
You got it. On my way.
There we go. Frostburn says, change of management, so to speak. Yes, to quote Megamind. Woo! Oh, look, did you guys see that? It went under the water. I love that. I love that the ice actually... That's another thing, ice. There's so many game mechanics in this game that just weren't brought over to future games. It's like... I'm telling you guys, Tiberian Sun and all its game mechanics are the key to reviving the RTS genre. I'm gonna put my foot down and plant my flag in the ground on this. I will die on this hill. Okay. Alicia Earl says, I love history. That's why I enjoy these streams. You're like my history teacher, though I'd never claim to admit that. I appreciate that. I was like, whoa, we got artillery. Where's the artillery? Okay. Alright. We can bring you guys back. Thank you, Trevin, for the idea of the quick reaction force with the orcas. That's really smart. I finally found a use for the orcas. Yeah, Alicia Earl, I love history so much, and I'm glad you do too. And so does a lot of other people in my audience, which is really nice. I don't know if they're going to be able to make it. They did! Let's go. Just Fix says, Ozzy, nice to be here. Watched a few of Snowman's vids, but have not been around for a live stream yet. Well, I'm glad to have you here. Ozzy says, Snowman, if you need to fix your monitor, I can manage the chat. No worries. It's just briefly. It's back now. Frostburn says, hello there, Justvic. And Aussie says, we appreciate you stopping by. Justvic asks, how is everyone? Baldric Alpha says, I like extra history. They cover a wide variety of historic events. Yes, I agree. I love extra history. I've seen so many things from them, and I've learned so much about Catherine the Great. She has an amazing story. If you ever want to look up some history guys from Extra History, just look up Extra History's series on Catherine the Great of Russia. Fantastic story. One of my favorite historical characters now that I know more about her. Come on, get over. What's this, Harpy? You're challenging me? Alright, let's go heal up. I got the crate. I'm just not. Goodness, Aussie. Alicia Earl, history repeats itself, as people say. So if it repeats and I have to live in it, why not learn about it, you know? Very smart, Alicia Earl. One of my favorite history YouTubers, VTH, vlogging through history. He's really great. Does a lot of reactions. His specialty is the Civil War, but he does other stuff. He mentioned, his line that he quotes all the time is that history doesn't repeat, but it does rhyme. Which I think is a more nuanced take. Which is like, yeah, history doesn't always repeat itself, but it follows similar patterns. And I agree, you kind of have to know more about history if you're going to understand your present. And it does help me, I feel, be more objective about politics and current day events if I can see it less from an emotional short-term perspective and more from, here's the whole course of human history and here's where it's been going since we understand how it got here. Which I think is important because it's very easy for, I'll just speak for myself to get swayed emotionally by political arguments and sides and things like that. So history helps me be, I feel, more objective and help me evaluate things without being fooled as much. At least I hope so. Nobody's perfect. Just Vic. Aussie, I'm good. I played some Terranigma, which I love, and had some curry, so I am now stuffed and lazy. Ooh, curry. Love curry. There used to be this great Japanese curry place not too far from me, but it closed due to the pandemic, and I am so sad because it was like the one curry place I really loved. Luke Danger says, Devil Tongues are scary, but have very little armor. Yep, the flaming shoebox of death is made out of cardboard. Just need cardboard piercing ammunition like rockets. Or Zacto knives. Save scum to get the best drop from the crate. Can the crate get something else? I thought that these crates in the single player always drop the same thing. And in this case, healing. Trevin Lane says they have a few uses, but they are good in their niche. For sure. Such a downgrade in CNC3 when they can't drill anymore. They're just regular flame tanks again. JustFix says, nice, I'm not familiar with the game, but I am familiar with curry. Michael Grohl, reminder for Snowman to build more Titans. I will. Let's get all you guys over here. Or Glusman, do you like the comics of Tintin or Asterisk Snowman? And did I ask you this question already? Also, there's a few new Asterisk shows on Netflix right now called Asterisk and Obelisk: The Big Fight. Yeah, I've heard about Asterisk. I never actually got into it. Tintin, I mostly know from the movie by Steven Spielberg, which I really, really love. I think I did read a few Tintin comics after the movie, which I have enjoyed. Okay, well, I'm not going to fault you guys for that. Oh, their power's down. We can do this. Okay, I didn't even... Oh, no! When did that happen? What? When did that happen? Let's load back. When did that happen? Okay, somebody destroyed the bridge when they weren't supposed to, so back up. Good news is we don't have to go that far back. Back up, guys. You're not destroying the bridge. And the power's down, so we're good.
Unit reporting. Unit ready. On my way. Awaiting orders. Awaiting orders.
Get up here.
Received. Moving out.
Let's build more orcas.
Building.
Unit reporting.
Okay. We just need to be very careful and get across the bridge without destroying anything. Let's save it on 8 now. Just Fix says, Aussie, it's an old SNES action RPG. It was only released in Japan and Europe. Oh, interesting. Alicia Earl says, Aussie, awesome to know. See, I'm not your hater, as you claimed in one of your streams. I know you were joking, but that was hilarious. Baldric Alpha says, currently working through the whole playlist. Currently on Ibn Battuta. It's 12:41, so I think we're in a good spot. Oh, that's right. The lasers are self-powering. How did I not... Alright, here we go, boys. We're taking this base down. We're taking back Hammerfest. Just Fix says, the anime Legend of Galactic Heroes has the line, and every time and every place the deeds of men remain the same. Fascinating. Alright, everyone up. Everyone up. Good quote, Just Vic. And of course, there goes my... Whatever. Let's get this artillery while we can. Michael Grotto says, actually, there is one that is perfect. Our Messiah Cain. The power of multiple titans. Frostburn, like the definition of insanity. Trevin Lane, I've also found that jump troopers are useful for escorting orcas on high-risk strike missions. Oh, really? Send the jump troopers in first to distract the AA and kill the rocket troopers while the orcas hit the real targets. That is really fascinating, Trevin, because I've never really vibed much with the air power in this game other than the Orca Bombers and the Banshees. So it's actually kind of cool that you're teaching me how to actually use air power effectively in this game. Ozzy says, saves coming with crates is something that you taught me, Snowman. Did I? I don't remember teaching you that, but fair enough. It will drop something different until a little while. Then they stay stuck giving you the same thing. I did not know that. G36 Enjoyer. Whoa, that res. Hey, G36 Enjoyer. Welcome to the channel. Yeah, I just like using the same res I did when I played this as a kid. That's just my thing. Trevin Lane says, the crates in the campaign are preset. See, that's what I thought. That's what I thought, Trevin Lane. Nesta Logic. Okay, that was unexpected. Luke Danger. Too bad we don't get transports in single player, not without doing the carry-all APC thing. That'd be a little easier in a situation like that. For sure. Let me save. We're almost done with the mission, guys. Thank you for sticking it out. This one was fun. This is even more fun than I remember this mission being. Let's see. Ozzy says, howdy and welcome, G36. Dang, Trevin Lane. Alicia Earl says, Super Challenge Bros. Off-topic question to ask you. Did you and Rogue get a new microphone? The audio in your new video sounds cleaner. The almighty Snark, welcome to the chat. That one dude walking up front when assaulting a base that will always die. Yeah, I never understand how people do that in actual warfare. You know, back when we would send huge masses of soldiers to the front lines. Like, who wants to be up front? Ozzy says, what a loaded question, Alicia Earl. We thought it sounded worse. Just Vic. What a way to spend a Saturday evening. Someone playing my favorite CNC on YouTube. Yeah, glad you guys are having a good time. This is a good way for me to spend my Saturday. Alicia Earl, I kind of zoned out and thought about it. No, it sounded really good. I thought it sounded good too, guys. I don't know what you're talking about. I know they did do some new audio post-processing stuff, I think. At least if they took the advice I gave them, so... Run them over. Ozzy says, welcome to the stream. The Almighty Snark says, hello. Luke Danger, the forlorn hope, the Almighty Snark. There's a reason why historically commanders would do all sorts of things to entice people to do it, like offering pardons for criminals. Oh, interesting. Yeah, and at least in the case of the Crusades, I believe it was also told that like anybody who participated in the Crusades would... I don't know if it was straight up access to heaven or have their sins forgiven, or it might have been something more nuanced like less time in purgatory. Medieval Christianity was an interesting time for the religion. Even though historically speaking, I think the Crusades get a bit of a bad rap, because they were somewhat justified with the Eastern Roman Empire needing help. It's just the execution of the Crusades, I think, weren't the best. A lot of atrocities. I don't know if that's a hot take. Almighty Snark say, saw Snowman's videos on CNC and this popped up on my feed. Oh, nice. Yeah, I'm currently working on the Brotherhood of Nod Part 2 video, which covers their history as well as their religious and political beliefs up to the First Tiberian War. So, hope to have that out in the next few weeks. It is definitely a long video. Or Gluesman, you finally destroyed their base because you're based. Thank you. All your base art belong to us. I can't remember who said it, but early on in my channel, I mentioned that my dad's favorite CNC was Generals, and I got a comment saying, your dad is based. And so I told my dad that, and he was... First, I had to explain to him what based was, but then afterwards, he was flattered. And then I told my mom all the nice things you guys said in the comments of the first Brotherhood of Nod video about her help with the Hebrew language, and she was so delighted that everybody was saying such nice things about her. And I was delighted because it's been a long time since the internet has been that nice. Aussie says, appreciate you stopping by, Almighty Snark. Almighty Snark says, Luke Danger, true, but this is just Tiberian Sun RA2's wonky pathfighting that you have to move big groups. True. Sky Viper says, the Patrol Guard waypoint feature works really well with the Orca Bombers. They will aggro anything close to their flight path. Somebody should explain to me, or I should look up how to use the waypoint system. I never figured out how to use that. Luke Danger, not having access to artillery. Or Gluesman. Doctor, turn off my Sorry. I don't know why I was doing Call of Duty World at War Zombies voice. Doctor, turn off my cringe inhibitors. There we go. Ozzy says, Alicia, that video had issues with the audio. We were looking at upgrading our mic, but that's not for a little while down the road. Alright, we just gotta go hunt these harvesters, and then we're done. We can move on to the next mission. I love all the red lighting that's in the Nod base. I always thought that was so cool. Frostburn says, Naughties can't stop the divine might of Titans. Gosh, I love the Titans. Mighty Snark, met someone last night that claimed Renegade was the best CNC. I claimed RA2 and the other person Generals. That is a hot take that Renegade is the best CNC. I respect their moxie. But yeah, RA2 and Generals are routinely the ones that I hear the most people say is the best CNCs. Honestly, I feel like this crowd in my channel is where I found my people who maybe not necessarily think that Tiberian Sun is the best, but definitely appreciate it more than most. I think from a gameplay perspective, General 0 Hour is the best CNC. But my personal subjective favorite is still Tiberian Sun. Trevin Lane says, I send the jump troopers first because they are slower than all the orcas and are cheaper than all the orcas as well. Yeah, how much is jump jet infantry? Oh, we'll never know. Yeah, I'm going to try and stay quiet for all of the cutscenes from now on because I heard you guys saying that they could be really quiet, so I'll be quiet so that you guys can turn up the volume on your own because there's nothing I can really do about that. I'm going to try and go through the chat before I go to the next mission, so if you guys could slow down on spamming the chat so I can catch up, and then we'll move on. Baldric Alpha says, being up front, if you're fast, you're last. Nostalgic says, I mean, looking at this, it is really fun, since it's the Ice Station Norway, for sure. Aussie says, I love Generals from a gameplay perspective, but the other CNCs have a special place in my heart. Alicia says, Aussie, I'm surprised. I was watching it on the TV and not on my computer, so maybe I wasn't used to that, but I thought it sounded fine. Almighty Snark says, I had a hard time getting into that with the 30 FPS cap these days. Maybe I should play it on Steam Deck. Alex Woods, welcome to the stream. Live Tibson. Live Tibson. Awesome. Just Fix says, Aussie, very much this. Gameplay is good, but you also need a certain flair or vibe to really elevate yourself. For sure. Trevin Lane says, GDI is the only faction whose tank can fire over walls. Absolutely. Frostburn, High Ground. Mighty Snark, you really managed to get that Byzantine crowd riled up. What do you mean? What do you mean by that? I'm in favor of the Byzantines, the Eastern Roman Empire. I think they were justified in asking for help. It's just it didn't turn out so well. The First Crusade was the most successful one, but that was mostly, I think, because a lot of the Islamic powers were busy fighting amongst themselves and other forces. So once we get to the Third Crusade, it all goes downhill for the Crusader states. Baldric Alpha. Trevin Lane, can they also be hit over those walls? Luke Danger. Medieval Christianity was a wild time for the religion. Honestly, the medieval period has some wild stuffs that just gets buried into the generic knights in shining armor. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, fascinating time. Just Vic. Up to the First Tib War, there can't possibly be many sources on that. I'm glad you mentioned that, Just Vic, because you're right. There are very few sources on that, but there are things that are implied, little things here and there in obscure areas, interviews and stuff like that. And through it, I think I've created the most comprehensive and best timeline we can for Nod prior to the First Tiberian War. And we'll see if you guys agree with that. Ozzy says, I'll have to re-listen to the audio on that video. It's probably the only video you'll see with the audio setup. It was so much work for that video. You have no idea. Alicia Earl says, Snowman, I'd like to hear your hot takes, but knowing I can talk with a wall and it can talk back, your hot takes will end up being a discussion. I assume you're talking about my hot takes on the Crusaders, on the Crusades. Yeah. Yeah, history is written by the victor, Baldric Alpha. It's interesting you say that, Baldric Alpha. History, yes, is oftentimes written by the victor, but sometimes it is written by the loser. Just because if the humiliation of the loss is enough, then the loser has more of an incentive to rewrite history than the victor does. I think that happened with the American Civil War, where, again, I'm getting some hot territory here, but I'm saying with as much respect as possible, I think a lot of the people in the South after the Civil War tried to really rewrite the narrative because they had to deal with the shame of the loss of that war. So they had much more incentive to control the narrative, whereas the North, I don't think, really cared one way or the other. So there was kind of a power vacuum in terms of history writing. I think it's similar with Japan after World War II. The U.S. could really care less if Japan tried to reframe it as the U.S. not being justified in attacking them, whereas Japan tends to kind of whitewash over a lot of their history because they have more incentive as the losers of that war to rewrite their legacy. But yeah, for the most part, history is written by the victors, with some notable exceptions. Or Glusman says, as a Jewish, I agree on what you said about the Crusaders. Yeah, and I'm not trying to, take a political stance here. I'm trying to be as objective as possible with history. I think we can go too far in either direction. We can either say, oh, the Crusaders were totally justified in everything they did. That whole area belongs to them. Or you can go the other direction and say, oh, the Crusaders, for no reason, just decided to kill, Middle Eastern people and for religion. And it's like, history is far more complex than that, and you can't boil it down to a side. History is very complex, and we're never going to learn from it if we don't try to remove our emotion from it and just learn what actually happened. And, for the most part, people have reasons for what they do, Generally speaking, they don't just kill people for no reason. There usually is. There may be still terrible reasons, but they generally have reasons. Which, again, I think is probably why World War II was so haunting for most of us, because what the Nazis did was felt just so wantonly evil. And it's like, wow, I can't even put my head in that headspace of, why anyone would do that. I think that's why the Nazis are so horrifying to us even decades later, just because it was just so nakedly evil. Anyway, Trevin Lane says, not by tanks. Almighty Snark says, don't think I ever told you, Snowman, but your videos are lovely. Really enjoyed them. Well, thanks, Almighty Snark. I really appreciate it. And you guys make it fun. And I have a lot of help from people like my mom and my brothers for little things. Frostburn says, you got the best parents. Yeah, I don't tell them that enough. But yeah, they really are good. If you guys still have good parents that are alive, make sure you tell them. I think as you become an adult, it often is easy to focus on the negatives. And not that it isn't good to call out your parents or, you know, help them improve if their behavior is still hurting you. I'm not saying that, but, you know, appreciate your parents while you have them. And I need to be more liberal with my words and let them know how much I appreciate them, because it's rough out here. It's rough out here. Just Fix says, I have once read the statement that for most of history was written by the people who could write. That's another good point. Alicia Earl says, okay, for the amount of work that went into it, that definitely paid off. How far back am I on the chat, guys? Because I really want to catch up before I start the next mission. Astrologic says, there's my favorite song in the background playing now. Yeah, I love the Mission Complete song. Florian, I was about to say Lucas. I'm just going to say Lucas. Florian Lucas, welcome to the chat. I found your channel a few weeks ago. It's nice to catch your stream and be able to enjoy it because I finally have semester holidays. Well, good to hear it. Appreciate you having here, Florian. G36 Enjoyer. In the 1500s to 1600s in Germany, they paid soldiers at the front of the line twice the wages, which is why they were called Doppelsoldner, double soldiers. Oh, that's why they're called Doppelsoldners, and I'm probably mispronouncing that horribly. That's amazing. Thank you, G36 Enjoyer. I appreciate that. The Almighty Snark. Luke Danger. The History of Rome is my favorite podcast. Really need to get into the history of the Byzantine Empire one day. Yeah, absolutely. Just Vic. G36 Enjoyer. They also were more qualified because they were better trained, hence the better pay. Sky Vipers. Waypoint system for the aircraft is OP. They will automatically go back to the pad to reload and then get back to patrolling. Zoom 3000 has good tips on videos trying to do this. Oh yeah, I've watched Zoom 3000. I think I've actually... Yeah. He does good stuff. Super Challenge Bros. Just Vic, I love the gameplay of Tiberian Sun. The turtling is my favorite aspect of this game. The tech, too, is just chef's kiss. Alex Wood says Tib Sun #1. Frostburn. Another one lost to the tip field. Oh my gosh, I'm so far back. That was still when I was playing. The Almighty Snark. I have never played Tiberian Sun, so I can't say I have a strong opinion on that one. Aussie says, Alicia Earl, it was unorthodox how the audio came out. Sky Viper says, I love Tiberian Sun Firestorm, but objectively speaking, I think Cain's Wrath is the best scene in CNC. I do love Cain's Wrath. Cain's Wrath is great. GG, Luke Danger, and we're back to the mission start in the cutscene. $600 for jump troopers. Orcas are $1,200 minimum. Okay, thank you. Thank you for telling me that. I hate that I missed that. Alicia Earl says, you don't have to apologize. I thought it was good. Or Glusman. Ryden. Why won't you cringe? Senator Armstrong. Memes, son. They hardened in response to internet trauma. You can't hurt me, Jack. Oh, that hurt my throat. Oh, gosh. Anyway, Michael Grotto says, probably should wait for Snowman to catch up before posting. I'm so far back, guys. If I get enough people in the stream eventually, at some point I'm going to have to stop reading every single one, and that day will make me sad. Recon1 says, hello, Super Challenge Bros. Almighty Snark says, yeah, Snowman really doesn't need to address all of our posts, especially on conversations in the chat. He's being too kind recapping all of this. Yeah. For this next mission, I might not read everything. I might just keep to the newest stuff. And so if I miss your stuff, I'm sorry. This will be the last time I think I'm going to be going through all of the chat. I finally hit critical mass. The sad day has arrived. Nastologic. Man, I kind of feel bad for Snowman catching up to us. Almighty Snark. Haha, fair enough. Stab in the back myth post-World War I, by the way. You're right, that's another one. The Germans in World War I, after World War I, claimed the stab in the back myth, which is kind of their version of the South's lost cause myth, which was that the politicians was what lost the war, not the soldiers. And that kind of fueled a lot of what Hitler was doing in World War II as well. Trevin Lane, I prefer using infantry with medics for my early defenses as they are shockingly durable, at least until the flame tanks roll in. Or Glusman, they called their future artillery after the modern MLRS artillery. Nastologic, I'm trying so hard not to laugh right now since it's so bad, it's hilarious. Baldric Alpha, you do get gold nuggets every now and then. May have been the losing side, still not convinced it was the wrong one. What is that a reference to? Almighty Snark, David Mitchell. Hans? Are we the baddies? Gosh, I love Mitchell and Webb. That's such a good one. Alicia Earl, here goes our history teacher. Won't let us know the lore behind the HSC Snowman, giving us a 20-minute lecture on history, taking notes. You'll never discover it, Alicia Earl. Not until 2 or 3 years from now, if you're still here. Michael Grodel, anyway, I'm going to have to leave. See you, Snowman. See ya. Appreciate it. The Almighty Snark. Bye, Michael. Pretty far back, Snowman. Trevin Lane. The light infantry is really good at soaking fire for disc throwers and medics for a modest cost. Tried so hard. I got so far, but in the end, it doesn't even matter if we keep chatting. Okay, we've broken the Snowman. Never thought we'd see the day. Snowman, if you're reading this, then congrats. You're closer to the end than you were before. Luke Danger. Next mission, we should probably be quiet, and going forward, it's going to be even worse. Monster, for you, it was the greatest day of your life. The day that General Bison graced you with his presence. For me, it was Tuesday. Alicia's like, no, tell me now. I will not. Maybe I'll tell you. Maybe I won't. I don't know. I'm thinking it over. We'll see. Almighty Snark. Maybe the Super Challenge Bros can single out a few comments for him to post mission. That's why I kind of want Aussie to be here in person, because I want him to be able to like just go through the chat and just audibly tell me things that are important. Because I don't have anybody physically here with me now. Maybe when I get married, my wife can do that for me. Baldric Alpha, Firefly quote, but reminds me just because the side loses, people are still there. Absolutely. Okay, I'm back here. I'm here. I'm not going to be able to get to every chat. The day has come. I'm just going to focus on the ones that I see speeding by. And that makes me sad. But here we go. And if you don't get something seen, feel free to repeat it. I don't mind that. Alicia Earl wants me to tell you. We'll see. We'll see. Maybe we can get someone in here to marry you to fix this issue. How dare you? I don't know if you've seen it on a few of my videos. You may have seen Mrs. Snowman on some of the videos. But yeah, she's amazing. I call her Mrs. Snowman just because that's my way of protecting her identity. She's technically not married to me yet, but we will soon. And yeah, no, I appreciate the offer. But no, she's incredible. She's absolutely incredible. I don't deserve her. She's amazing. Okay. Unless you want me to continue gushing about Mrs. Snowman, we're going to keep going forward. And away we go. Also, it's already 1 o'clock, so this is around the time, around 1:30 when I would normally end the stream. But we'll go a little bit further. We'll see what happens.
I think you better see this, sir. Now that I've destroyed Hammerfest and stolen GDI sonic crystals, I felt it would be bad form to leave without expressing my gratitude, Commander. I'm something of a tank enthusiast, and the Sonic Tank will make an excellent addition to my collection. Oh, by the way, you had to hear about your brother, McNeil. I hear he died very slow, painful death.
Picking up sonic vibrations from a Nod bullet train moving south. This has got to be the business. If we get the train before it gets to the Nod base, we might have a chance of getting it back. We can't let Cain get his hands on this pistol.
Okay, welcome. Oh, welcome to the chat, Fitted of Light. Chase Baker says, I always get a kick of how close Cain is to the camera during his voice video calls. I know, he looks like the Mega Mind meme. Luke Danger says, in hindsight, did Cain have a suspicion about the Sonics versus Tib? I wonder if he wanted a backup just in case. I messed with a Nod faction thinking the same thing. Yeah, I wonder. All right, I think this is the mission where I have to get the disruptor crystals back from the train, and if I do it quick, I can beat the mission in like 5 minutes, which would be a great way for me to get 2 missions in before the stream ends. Alicia Earl says, did you mention Megamind in my presence? Yes, should I have not?
It is imperative that you prevent the train from reaching the Nod base. Remember, destroying the locomotive will immediately stop the train. Massive ice melts in the region have disabled the only train bridge. You must move quickly, as Nod engineers are on their way to repair it. The crystals can be recovered easily if you get to the train before Nod can repair the bridge. Otherwise, we will need to attack the base in order to reclaim the crystals.
Okay, let's do this quick, guys. What do we have here? The Dividend of Light says, "Hail, man of snow. Thank you for the welcome, and sorry I've not left my usual TED Talks. Been busy lately. Crush the thralls of the first murderer." Oh my gosh, that line goes so hard. Crush the thralls of the first murderer. Yeah, have you read? Have you the one who's left TED Talks in my chat, in my comments too? Yeah, I've missed that. Yeah, Rip Earl Jones. Alicia Earl, Megamind is a meme that lives rent-free in my head. You have me dying of laughter. Already 1 o'clock? Just for curiosity, which timeline are you in? For me, it's 11 o'clock. Oh, yeah, Pacific time for me. Hope you complete this mission quick, Snowman. Send in the blue-filled Harveys, blow that bridge to heck. Trevin Lane says, going northeast, then south along the river allows you to bypass most of the enemy defenses, get inside the base, and destroy the engine of the train. This mission is almost a cakewalk. Northeast, then south to the river. Huh. Okay, I'll give that a shot. I was going to do it purely from memory. That goes hard, Vidit. I might need to save that, along with the Nod Commando having the power of Nod and anime on our side.
Establishing battlefield control. Stand by.
Here we go. We are currently tracking the Nod train carrying the target cargo. Intel states that the bridge is out. We may have to hit the train before they repair the bridge. Okay. Let's do this.
Awaiting orders. Engineering. Awaiting orders. Sir, moving out. Unit ready, sir. Awaiting orders. Awaiting orders. Awaiting orders.
I'm having trouble remembering this. The Vidit of Light says, feel free, I advocate for the Cain, biblical Cain. As I said in your first video, take the line, use it, most importantly, put it into practice. What do you mean by going northeast? That's the edge of the map. What are you talking about, Trevin?
Unit reporting. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
If the engine is destroyed, the train will move no more.
Moving out.
Alright.
Unit ready, sir. Loud and clear. Got it.
Yeah, Northwest Pacific time is like the California, Oregon, Washington, Baja, California, Mexico kind of area.
Moving out. Moving out. Unit ready. Waiting. Yes, sir. No problem. Waiting. Moving out. Unit report. Unit ready. You got it. Unit. Yes, sir.
Oh, I think I see what you mean. There's a way we can go up the cliff up that way, so we can avoid all the base defenses.
Unit reporting. Yes, sir.
Luke Danger says northwest maybe. Just Vic, my personal theory, but it was always Cain was just a normal guy with a secret clone lab. Yeah, I've heard that theory, and I put that in the poll. I don't know where that comes from. Like, I know that Cain is floating around in the pod at the end of the Firestorm campaign, but I always just assumed, like, because those pods are for Cabal. Cabal is using that as his processors. It's, what is it, computer-assisted biological life form? Artificial life form? Like, he uses several humans' brains as, like, extra processing power. That's why he's so much smarter than Ava. So I just assumed Cain was thrown in there to heal, you know, back to tank style. I never thought that that implied cloning, but a lot of people seem to think, well, not a lot, like, according to the poll, a minority, but a vocal minority. I never understood why people get stuck on the clone theory. Because clearly, to me, like, that's not what that scene is implying.
Yes, sir.
But that's just me.
Sir.
Thank you, Trevin, for showing me the other way around.
On my way. Orders received. Loud
Let's keep it going. This map is full of stealth tanks, so it's going to be rough no matter what, especially if they hit pretty hard. Question for you from Alicia Gaming. What is the question? Let me go back and see if I can find it. If Cain was biblical, why isn't he spelled Cain? Explain to your lovely noob here. Yes, Brett Sperry, one of the co-founders of Westwood, the guys that made this game, explained it. They basically didn't want it to be super obvious that it was the biblical Cain, so they changed the spelling just to make it a little less obvious that that was Cain's true origins. They wanted to hint at it, whoop, without like making it blatantly obvious. That's why. And if you look in the manual for the very first game, Cain makes it very. It's made clear that Cain is also known by Cain, spelled C-A-I-N-E. So it's not outside the realm of possibility. How am I supposed to get across? Can I? Oh! Can I just? Ooh! Oh, that's so cool! Amphibious.
On my way. On my way.
All right. Awesome.
Yes, sir. Orders received. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I think it's in the caboose, if I remember correctly.
Moving out, sir. Yes, sir. Orders received.
Okay, so the train's not going to move now, but I have to get to the caboose now, which is going to be hard.
Orders received. On my way.
Appreciate all our late night viewers. I'm just going to hit the engine from the river. Thank you, Trevin. Translation errors. It's 11 o'clock. Wow. Lee Cheryl says, gotcha, so I just need to do my research. Yeah, no worries. There's a lot of stuff that's only like in certain manuals or a throwaway line in a cutscene. So, you know, I don't expect you to know all this.
Yes, sir.
Oh, let's get rid of the power.
Unit ready, sir.
What are you trying to do, loser?
Yes, sir.
Okay. At least the good thing is that tomorrow is Sunday, so we can sleep as much as we want. Yeah, I love Sundays. Sundays are probably my favorite day of the week. Just because I get to do a lot of fun stuff on Sundays.
Yes, sir. You got it.
Mighty Snark says, yeah, I got to get ready for night shifts anyway on Monday. There is a beach further down the river. GMT +1 gang. Okay. Let's destroy this.
Unit reporting. Unit ready. Sir. Out and clear.
All right, let's see what we can do. Whoa, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Okay, you know what? Fine. Destroy it. We're doing this quick.
No problem. Unit ready.
Go. We can win the mission. We can win the mission.
On our way.
Yay! It's that easy, guys. It's that easy. Oh. Yeah, it's that easy. It's that easy. All right. Thank you. Jez says, I think it's the low quality of the cutscene. You can't see the other people that's clearly in there, so they could be mistaken for clones. That makes sense. As soon as the stream ends, I can go to sleep. Yeah, we're going to end the stream real soon here. I'm going to read the last of your comments. We're going to see the cutscene for the next mission. I'm going to save, and then we'll end. So we're wrapping up, guys. Let's see. Practically a cakewalk, indeed. Luke Danger says, remember correctly, if the train gets away and MCV gets delivered and you play a standard mission. Yeah, like I said, I think I've only ever done that once as a kid. Most of the time, I just beat it quickly. Baldric Alpha says, that cutscene looked like the Nod missiles hitting the train. Sky Viper says, 108 efficiency. Cabal is not pleased. Raycon 1 says, I will play COD Zombies Black Ops 6 after your stream. Oh, good. Let me know how that is. I usually like playing the early COD Zombies. Baldric Alpha, is this even a number? All right, next one.
First missile landed here, starting some sort of chain reaction. You're the reformatting at the atomic level, pure touch of Tiberian. No one has ever seen anything like it. It's Armageddon. Tacitus is nothing but a Shiner myth. We're gonna stop Cain. We have to shut down those missiles. Ava?
There is some ion's interference. However, I detect a large Nod Tiberian missile launchers.
Ah, there it is. Frostburn, Naughties are spreading space meth throughout Europe. Baldric Alpha, do disruptors affect Tiberium in this game? I don't think they do. I could be wrong. Trevin Lane, at least the last mission didn't fail if you didn't stop the train. I hate those kinds of missions, yeah. Luke Danger, while Solomon is being harsh, the world-altering missile prototype is accelerating Tiberium growth, which can't be stopped right now, so he does have a good reason to want to prioritize stopping that over a rescue mission. No, you're absolutely right. And that was something I kind of missed when I was a kid, is that, wow, this is reformatting, like, all of Europe to be... like, this is like a mini liquid Tiberium bomb, essentially. And so, yeah, it is absolutely understandable that, you know, as the leader, Solomon's got to have priorities. Triage, people, triage. Vidid of Light says, the fact that Solomon's uniform still has US on it implies the US still exists in some capacity, or Westwood was too lazy to change even that. I feel like it was laziness. In my opinion, I don't think any of the nations exist in the Tiberian Sun era. I don't think they start to exist again until we start getting closer to Tiberium Wars. And even then, it's more in name only, because the reality is the real political powers between blue, yellow, and red zones. Sky Viper says, the cutscene reminds me of being 13 and having no memory of what Umagon's actual is. Yeah, as a kid, I always tended to kind of skip the cutscenes for the most part. I don't think my parents would approve, because I had my living room right in front of, like that's where the family computer was. So I certainly didn't want my mom walking up and seeing that, so... Luke Danger says, it makes New Eden that much more incredible of an achievement. GDI's first reclamation zone was one that Nod had accelerated the most. That's a really good point. Just Fix says, as far as no nation states still formally exist in Nod, but they are crumbling and not really important. That's probably true, too. Nastologic, it's just me, or did McNeil look somewhere else? Just a thought. Bit of Light, I agree, but Snowman is kind of a different take. But yes, by Tiberium Wars, they technically exist. Yeah, no, Just Fic may be right as well. I am kind of stuck on the idea that there are no nations in the Tiberian Sun era. That may be my bias. I may be ignoring actual evidence to the contrary. Trevin Lane says, rescuing the prisoners really helps in the next few missions. Constant mutant reinforcements are great for mage shields. The reason I'm laughing is because the idea that you would rescue the mutants because you actually care about them, but then, as far as gameplay goes, you just use them as meat shields, which is just hilariously ironic to me. Alicia Earl says, I was going to question if you were allowed to watch the cutscenes. No, I wasn't. As a kid, I was told to skip them, and weirdly enough, as a kid, I just did. Yeah, I was that kind of kid. Luke Danger says, as to Solomon's U.S. insignia, he was a U.S. Rangers previously, so maybe it's a holdover from his pre-GDI career. Yeah, that's also possible as well. Remember that GDI was originally a UN task force. Baldric Alpha says, some of you may die, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make. Alright, yeah, I think I'm going to do the mutant one first, then the supply mission, then the main one, in that order. I think this is the mutant one in Denmark.
Destroying the supply base here
Nope.
will prevent the missile complex from receiving reinforcements.
Okay, what was this one?
Complete destruction of the missile complex is essential. Be advised, Nod will use their Tiberian missiles and their new fighter prototypes against you.
Yeah, this is the one where we first get attacked by the Banshees, the Nod flying saucers they learned from the Tacitus. It is harsh, but it is the practical effect. Alicia Earl says it was skip them and listen, or watch them and probably be scared of getting in trouble. You chose right, kid. Fair enough.
The mutants are being held on an island in this sector. We can spare a small force to attempt a rescue. The area leading to the island is heavily guarded. If you are detected, more Nod forces will arrive. Avoiding Nod patrols is advised. You must rescue all 10 mutants and lead them to the dust off zone. Periodic airstrikes will be available.
So, two things. One, I know it's for gameplay reasons, but, like, my gosh, McNeil, you were going all the way over there for 10 mutants? Only 10? I would have assumed there were more. Secondly, they say periodic airstrikes will be available. I don't remember that. So, I'll have to see if that will actually happen. Alright, here we go. I'm just going to jump in, see the beginning, save, and then we'll end. My people are waiting somewhere to the north. Okay, so if I remember correctly, what I used to do was I would take all my forces this way to the east and get destroyed by a valley of tick tanks and air and artillery, because I assume that's where you would have to go to get to these guys. When in reality, Umagon literally says, I think I have forces to the north. That's a hint you're supposed to go north, and if you go around the edge of the top, it's way easier. And I didn't learn that until way later. Luke Danger says, airstrikes, are those actually in-game or not? I don't know. I really hope they are. Baldric Alpha says, yes, but each mutant has the power of one mutant. Recon 1 says, welcome to Poland. Frostburn then says it, presumably in actually Polish. Alright, let me save on Snowman as well. Thank you guys so much for being here for the stream. I really appreciate it. Aussie says, I remember skipping this mission always, Snowman, because it was so difficult. I used to skip it too. Remember that they didn't allow you to switch to select missions if you didn't save. So one time I didn't save enough. I got stuck on this mission and couldn't beat it. And since there's no mission select, I had to restart the campaign from scratch and make sure I didn't pick this mission just so I could beat the dang game. Anyway. Trevor Lane says, if you move north to the start the meet and rescue, you will find a bridge to the abandoned base. You can use the hijacker to jack the APC, and you can sneak a force onto the island and take the target. Oh, interesting. Thank you so much for your help, Trevor Lane. You've really helped out a lot. Just Vic says, thanks for the stream. Thanks for having you there. Nice to catch one live. Yeah, good to have you, Baldric Alpha. I should be back in 2 weeks. We've kind of established this now that every other week we do a stream. So we'll be here. Alicia Earl says, thanks for hosting these streams. I enjoy learning about CNC history, and I like prying your HHC's lore out of you. I will figure it out, mark my words. I have every confidence that you will. Almighty Snark, there are cheats in this game? What? Yeah, so in 2 weeks, guys, I'll be back. We'll continue making these, hopefully get through all 3 of these missions. Hope to see you guys there. Also, in the next few weeks, I hope to have the next Nod video out. It is kicking my butt because it is very detailed and tedious, but I'm having a lot of fun. Let me know if you guys have any more questions. Feel free to comment on any of the new videos if you have something you wanted to talk about in the chat and you forgot. If it's about CNC, because I still look at all the new comments. So feel free to comment there and we can have a conversation in the comments. If you have any more questions about CNC lore, now's your chance to ask. Any more questions about the future of the channel or any other videos or games you want me to cover, either here or on the opposite one, the other channel, feel free to let me know before we end out. Let me just read the rest of the chat before we end. See ya and say hello to your family and friends for me. Thank you, Recon 1. I will. Baldric Alpha says, I do regular Discord walk-alongs on the same schedule, so I will remember that. Thank you. Trevor Lane says, I'm glad I could help. Have a nice day. Almighty Snark says, I'll try and catch a stream sometime in the future if I'm not working. I presumed it had cheats. It doesn't. Ouch. Alicia Earl says, be blessed, Snowman. Hope you come back to the next stream safe. Excited for the Oregon Trail video. Yes, we will get that done. Luke Danger says, might want to look for the high-rise hotel if you want to cut off the stream of cyborgs in the mission. Maybe play it off-screen to locate to make sure the live stream is easier. Maybe, but it tends to be more fun when I'm blind, I think. Org Glusman says, just don't ask the Polish people what we think about the Jewish people. They will tell you that everything is our fault in one way. I mean, I think historically speaking, the Poles have actually been more welcoming to the Jews than most other nations. And I know the bar is through the basement, but especially during World War II. Nostalgic, we can talk about the future of the series in the next stream. Sounds good. Luke Danger, also not seeing anything about the airstrikes on the AVA database, so I think it was something not implemented. Well, that sucks. Baldric Alpha, hope the whole Snowman family has a good Fortnite. We will, and we do often play Fortnite too. Just coincidentally. In the past, not in modern days. Gotcha, yeah. Okay. Well, thank you guys all for playing. Thank you for being here. I will see you all next time. Thank you so much, Aussie, for helping to manage the chat. I'm going to go eat the beef jerky that I got for my birthday. I will see you guys later. See you later.